Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the November 21st, 2024 Fresno City Council meeting. The time is 9:08. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Certainly. Councilmember Arias. Present. Councilmember Maxwell. Present. Councilmember Chavez. Here. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Here.
Councilmember Esparza.
Present.
Vice President Carbasi.
Here.
And Council President Perea. We have a quorum.
Here. Thank you. Next is the invocation, which will be given by Monsignor Patrick McCormick from Holy Spirit Catholic Church, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be administered by Council Member Bredefeld. Will everyone please stand?
A reading from the letter of St. James. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given. And so let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, as your city council gathers, we seek your divine guidance and wisdom. May the opening prayer set the tone of our presence here today and bring about productive and harmony-filled with the good discussion. Let your presence inspire our leaders to make decisions that benefit our community and promote unity. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, God, forever and ever. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, are there any changes or items removed from today's agenda?
Yes, we did get a few changes to the agenda, but first I'd like to announce we do have Spanish, Hmong, and Punjabi translators available via Zoom. We also have in-house Spanish translators, and they will quickly let the audience know the services they provide.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Jael. This is my colleague, Maria. We are from Focus Interpreting, and we will be your in-house Spanish interpreters today. So if you're in need of Spanish interpretation, we have headsets available for you, and you can find us towards the back of the auditorium, where we're more than happy to help you. Thank you.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María, mi colega Jael. Somos intérpretes de español de Focus Interpreting. Si alguien requiere asistencia en interpretación en español, tenemos audífonos disponibles y estamos en la parte posterior del auditorio. Gracias.
Thank you. And as for changes to the agenda, I need to announce that consent calendar item 2K, that is file ID 241391, regarding the approval of a consultant services agreement between the City of Fresno and FCS International. The agenda title has been updated and should read, approve the consultant services agreement between the City of Fresno and FCS International regarding the environmental planning and consulting services for the Southeast Development Area, SEDA, Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report, EIR, through June 30th, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $153,636, and uphold the City Manager's determination that FCS International, Inc. is uniquely qualified. The upholding the City Manager's determination is what has been added to that title. Items removed from the agenda. First up, we have consent calendar item 2I, that is file ID 24-1525, regarding actions pertaining to a state and local fiscal recovery fund grant agreement between the City of Fresno and Central California Land Trust. That item was removed and tabled with no specific return date by Councilmember Arias. Also removed from the agenda today, consent calendar item 2K, file ID 24-1391. That is the item regarding the consultant services agreement between the City of Fresno and FCS International. And we also have an item that has been moved.
City Clerk,
yes.
Just correction on that. We'll move that item to December 5th.
For the 2K?
The SEDA item.
Okay,
correct.
That is 2K will be December 5th.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and the item moved to contested consent for further discussion is 2Z. That is file ID 241566. It is the bill for introduction, adding Chapter 10, Article 26 to the Fresno Municipal Code regarding the sidewalk vending ordinance. And that was moved to the contested consent calendar by Councilmember Chavez. I have no further changes to the agenda.
Thank you, City Clerk. Council members, are there any other items you wish to remove, continue, or pull from consent for discussion? Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Maxwell.
No changes, President.
Councilmember Chavez. Councilmember Bredefeld. Councilmember Esparza. Council Vice President.
None, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay, and I will pull 2J to contested consent for discussion. 2J. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? I have a motion by Councilmember Arias and a second by Councilmember Chavez. Any objection? Item passes 7-0. Up next are the ceremonial presentations. The first one we have is Proclamation for School Psychology Month. This one is sponsored by Vice President Carbasi.
Morning. How you doing? Good to see you. How are you? I'm going to give this to you to hold on to. Okay. I think this is our third or fourth year doing this. Third year, and we're going to make it fourth year and beyond. Yes, so I'm Mike Carbasi. I'm a council member for Northwest Fresno, and I am so proud to join City Manager Georgianne White as we honor School Psychology Month. You know, growing up in elementary schools here in Fresno, things have really changed. I think problems that kids face every day, whether it has to do with, unfortunately, things that are tough like domestic violence and abuse, or things like economic insecurity, as we've seen throughout the country with inflation and those things. It's really important we have people specifically identified to support staff and support our teachers to help them process and deal with the problems they face, and not only for the kids, but for the parents too. I can tell you, I think we would have benefited so far in the past if we had more school psychologists, and we need more. And it's a very difficult job. I can't imagine emotionally how difficult it must be to see children go through what they go through, but to be able to be that life raft to get them to become, how do I put this, adults that can be able to process all the trauma they experience. Having a school psychologist be able to deal with that, problems big and small, is huge. So I'm going to pass it off to City Manager White, and then we'd love to hear from you about the great things you're doing.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Yes, on behalf of the mayor, thank you for all that you do. As Councilmember Carbasi said, the heart that you all must have for children must be endless, because the issues that kids face nowadays are pretty unfathomable. It's a little scary at times as you think. I look at my kids who are now in their 20s and think, wow, we successfully made it without, any major crises, but I know that's not the case. I know mine are very lucky, and I'm very lucky. So thank you for what you do. It is, I'm sure at times, a thankless job, as many occupations are. So just want to acknowledge everything that you give every day for the kids. So thank you.
I'll hold that for you if you want.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Carbasi and the City Council. Like he said, this is our third year receiving this proclamation. School psychologists are helpers by nature, so we don't love recognition, so this is very awkward for all of us every year, but we do it on behalf of the 200 school psychs we have. So we're up here representing CVA CASP, which is our Valley affiliate for our statewide association, and we span from basically Merced to almost Bakersfield, and we represent that population of Central Valley psychologists. So we just want to say thank you, and we are so grateful that somebody is recognizing the work we do. I think when you hear the term school psychologist, you think a lot about academics, But we do so much more than that. We're there socially, emotionally, behaviorally for our students. We do a lot of mental health work. We work with adults and systems, individual students. We do crisis response. It's endless, and yes, it's stressful, but we love our jobs and we lean on each other kind of to have a network of people to support with the coping skills in our own mental health, because if our mental health isn't on par, we can't support our students. So we just thank you, and yes, if you know a school psychologist, give them a high five. It was School Psychology Awareness Week nationally last week, so this is where we pair with Councilmember Carbasi to kind of do this in the month of November. But again, if you know a school psych, thank them for the work they do. It's rough out there, but we love what we do, and the trauma-informed part, although difficult, is probably the favorite part of what we do oftentimes, because our goal is to create productive citizens in society, not just kids that are reading on grade level, things like that. So thank you, guys.
Do you do any work with council members by any chance?
So we do a fundraiser every year. We actually have one coming up on Saturday. Councilmember Carbasi has been in attendance, but it's very important to us as school psychologists to also give back to our community. So this year our beneficiary is UCP, which takes our students who then transition out into adulthood that have very profound disabilities, so autism, intellectual disabilities, traumatic brain injuries, and they continue supports for those adults with very severe needs. So they'll be the recipient of our donation this year. We're very excited. So far we have about 200 people in attendance. If you would like to donate, you can go to cva-cast.org. And yeah, so again, it'll be helping our students as they age out of our system get the supports that they need to be successful into adulthood.
Awesome. Thank you. Great job.
Thank
so,
you.
City Clerk, if you wouldn't mind reading the proclamation into the record. I'll give that to you.
Happily.
Yeah.
Whereas children and youth learn best when they are healthy, supported, and receive an education that enables them to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And whereas schools can more effectively ensure that all students are able to learn when they meet the needs of the whole child and provide integrated, multi-tiered support. And whereas children's mental health is directly linked to their learning and development, and the learning environment provides an optimal context to promote good mental health through connectedness within the school and community. And whereas positive educational and social outcomes for all children and youth are possible only in a society and schools within it that affirm and value the diversity of each child. And whereas school psychologists take steps to foster a school climate that is supportive, inclusive, safe, accepting, and respectful towards all persons. And whereas sound psychological principles are integral to instruction and learning, school safety, social and emotional development, prevention, early intervention, and support of culturally diverse student populations. And whereas school psychology has more than 60 years of well-established, widely recognized, and highly effective practice and standards that are clearly articulated in the National Association of School Psychologists Model for Comprehensive and Integrated School Psychological Services. And whereas school psychologists are specially trained to foster and deliver in the school and community and continuum of mental health services and academic supports that lower barriers to teaching and learning. And whereas school psychologists help children thrive by nurturing their individual strengths across both personal and academic endeavors. And whereas school psychologists are trained to assess student and school-based barriers to learning and individual strengths, utilize data-based decision-making, implement research-driven prevention and intervention strategies, and evaluate outcomes and improve accountability. And whereas the City of Fresno should recognize the vital role that school psychologists play in the personal and academic development of our city's children. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Jerry Dyer and the Fresno City Council, do hereby recognize the month of November 2024 to be School Psychology Month in the City of Fresno.
Okay. Our next one, if the North Lions Club members would join us up here. What did I say? North Lions. North Fresno Lions, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
I think you're the only Lions in the room, right?
I think so.
Okay. How you doing? Good to see you.
You're the best. Okay, okay.
Who would like to hold this?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Would you like to hold it, Patricia?
I'll tell you what. Marcia,
gonna take a
if you
picture.
want Ryan to take pictures for you, that way you can join us. You have to be up here. Yeah. See? Come on. There's a lot of District 2 up here. I'm very excited. So, yeah, so I'm so pleased to be able to join the folks up here and honor North Fresno Lions. For 75 years, they've raised over $1 million to support organizations that we hold very dear, like the Marjorie Mason Center, Heinz Hospice, and so many others. I've said before that, government isn't always the solution. We depend on service organizations, and the Lions International is another one. They do a lot of service projects this year alone. I think there was a very exhaustive list of all the projects you've done. A lot of them have to do with children. And we just talked about school psychology and how important that is and raising them to be productive citizens, but they do face a lot of challenges. And things like reading and being able to have access to eyeglasses, which we all take for granted. It's amazing that you're able to help not just kids but adults get eye exams and be able to get prescription glasses. And there's someone that fills that void, and it's you. It's not always, unfortunately, Medi-Cal doesn't always come through. But to be able to have service organizations that do that, that's a really big deal. And to learn the history and how Helen Keller was involved with that, it's phenomenal. So I think we want to hear more from some of the projects you've been involved with, and we want to make sure you keep going. $1 million in 75 years, you've got a really good council. Maybe we can help you with that and make it more. But I'm going to pass it off to City Manager Georgianne White.
Thank you. On behalf of the mayor, thank you. As council member said, without service organizations, nonprofit organizations in our city, I don't think we'd ever be able to accomplish what we do as a community. As we know, government can't do it all, so we rely very heavily on all of our organizations that work so hard for our community. So thank you. I know you guys are the ones that do the boxes to put the old eyeglasses in, which I know because every time I clean out my drawers and I have my old glasses, I need to figure out where's one of those boxes from the Lions Club. So thank you for all that you do and your dedication to trying to help your community and those who need that extra help. Thank you very much.
We would love to hear from you. It's open mic night here at City Hall, so pass it down.
Hi, I'm the president, so I guess I get to do this. Lions International is the largest service club in the world. We're in nearly every country, and wonderful, wonderful work all around the globe. We do eye missions and also help with shipping of supplies for clinics and setting up clinics, setting up schools in different, more third world countries. We also, locally, we have several ongoing service projects that we do every month. We collect food every month for the Fresno State's Amendola Family Student Pantry. We collect eyeglasses, like they said, for to send on missions. We also collect used books and new books for children's reading programs. And what else do we do? Ongoing.
Partnering with Muddy Eyes.
And we're partnering with Muddy Eyes to feed the homeless. We do that at least twice a year. And also at least twice a year, we do a work day with Medical Ministries International. Some of you may not have heard of this wonderful, wonderful local organization, but they collect used medical equipment and ship it in massive containers over to Liberia, different countries, to help them set up clinics. And these are exam tables, these are dental equipment, these are all kinds of equipment, and it's a locally founded organization, and we help with those several times a year. Founded by one of the Lions. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, yeah. Okay, that's probably it.
Anyone else want to volunteer anything?
I just want to say, if you want to be a member, just let us know, and we'll get you in the club, okay?
Yeah.
That goes for any of the city council members.
I love that. That's great. Recruiting is always smart. Okay. Right. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for your service, and here's to 75 more. So, City Clerk, if you read the proclamation into the record, and if we can get a couple.
Whereas North Fresno Lions has worked actively with the youth in Fresno to promote patriotism and civic understanding through Flag Day events at local schools, provided scholarships and opportunities for high school students through their annual student speakers contests. They also promote volunteerism of youth by providing opportunities to work alongside Lions on local service projects. North Fresno Lions further serves youth by collecting and donating children's reading books to Reading Heart and runs a program called Cases for Kids, which collects, refurbishes, and distributes new and gently used suitcases for foster children so they don't have to transport their things in black trash bags. And whereas North Fresno Lions has embraced the mission to give to Lions International by Helen Keller to serve as Knights for the Blind by collecting thousands of used eyeglasses annually and distributing them worldwide through sight and medical missions. Locally, North Fresno Lions pays for school children and adult eye exams and needed eyeglasses when they cannot afford them. North Fresno Lions also sponsors needed eye surgeries for corneal implants through the Lions Eye Bank. And whereas in the 2023-24 Lions year alone, North Fresno Lions have donated hundreds of service hours on 5 monthly ongoing service projects, which include monthly food drives for the Amendola Family Student Pantry and Fresno State Collection of Eyeglasses, hearing aids, children's reading books and suitcases, and school supplies for foster youth. This year, North Fresno Lions also participated in 8 additional service projects, which included cooking and serving a pancake breakfast for Heinz Hospice, Angel Babies, Walk and Run, bell ringing for the Salvation Army, feeding the homeless, and distributing gifts for Muddy Eyes fall and spring, sorting and cleaning used eyeglasses for Medical Ministries International, fall and spring, hosting a student speaker contest, and running a drive for Wings Advocacy in which they collected and donated over 2 carloads of usable household items for the bedroom, kitchen, and bath. And whereas North Fresno Lions has raised well over $1 million over their 75 years of service to Fresno to support local nonprofits and charities like Central California Food Bank, Heinz Hospice, Poverello House, Marjorie Mason Center for Domestic Violence, Valley Center for the Blind, and Salvation Army, to name a few, and are proud that 100% of monies raised goes to charity. And whereas on November 3rd, 2024, North Fresno Lions will celebrate 75 years of continuous service for the Fresno area. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Jerry Dyer and the Fresno City Council, recognize the dedication to those in need in the city of Fresno and do hereby honor North Fresno Lions in the city of Fresno.
All right, the next proclamation is celebrating Geographic Information Systems Day, GIS Day.
Okay, if we can get the GIS team up here. So this is an amazing group of people in our city that we don't see their faces, but we see their work every day. Using technology is one of the things that is so important for us to be the most effective and efficient. And the utilization of GIS, what we've done in the city over the last couple decades is amazing. You guys do amazing work. All of the maps, all of the, when council members are trying to hold a meeting and they are asking for a list of addresses within a different geographic area. I know fire uses GIS to do heat maps to determine where there are fires, where there's a high preponderance of fires. We're going to be rolling out something soon that is going to be a GIS tool for all of the different infrastructure projects going on in our city. These are the people that do all of that work. And it's really, really important. It's not, it's not super, thrilling or whatever that we see on the outside, but I can't stress to you how important it is for us to be able to do what we need to do. So thank you so much for all that you do. Do we have the displays out in the lobby still? No, we have a website. Oh, we have the website. Okay. I'm going to have you guys talk about that. Anyway, so I want to thank all of you for all that you do. We appreciate you, and it's very cool. I think is this the first time we've ever recognized GIS Day? Yes. I feel like it is. And so it's a long time coming. Thank you. We thought it was important to acknowledge all of you at a meeting because what you do is so critical. I'm going to hand it over to either Brian or Edith so you can talk a little bit about some of the projects. And you can maybe share what the website is.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few things. Thank council, city manager, the mayor for recognizing the GIS team. She's absolutely right. This team's amazing. You don't realize what they do until you see it. I mean, a lot of people think GIS is just mapping. Well, it's not just mapping. There's things on that map that have a lot of value to the city, demographics. I mean, location of buildings, assets, a lot of things. So this team is amazing. I want to say thank you for all the work you do in ISD. We are very, very honored to have this team. And it's been years in the making. Edith's done a great job over the years of bringing this around, and her team is absolutely outstanding. Now, I'm not going to take her thunder. I'm going to let Edith speak for a little bit.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, City Manager, for giving us the environment in which we can create this program. It is necessary to have the executive support of the City Manager, the Mayor, and all of the City Council in order to give us the room and the resources we need to build this program. The GIS program here at the City of Fresno is existing in almost every single department. We have GIS specialists who do the work of the department. And we feel like it's more than just the addresses, the parcels, the owners, the data. It's more than just maps. It's information that helps people make better decisions every day. It increases efficiency in the City of Fresno departments, and it increases transparency, and it allows us to communicate with the public, with our public dashboards. So we are very proud. I'm very proud of the team we have here. These are all amazing professionals. We have GIS specialists, we have database administrators, we have programmers, everybody building the tools that we have that you can see on our website. So this is a long URL, but if you go to cityofresno.maps.arcgis.com, you can find a link to a 2024 story map that will highlight just some of the things that we have done this year. This is not the entire team. Most of us are still working in our departments. So thank you for recognizing us. If you forget that URL, just send an email to gis@fresno.gov, and we will get you any information you need. At the bottom of the story map, there is a survey. So if anybody has any ideas or suggestions for how we can improve GIS and the information we have on the web at cityofresno.maps.arcgis.com, let us know. Thank you very much, City Manager.
City Manager, if I may.
Yes.
Right over here. Yeah, I know you're looking around the dais. No, I just wanted to say thank you to the GIS team. You know, there's a lot of information you folks provide that we could quite literally not do our jobs without it. We'd be flying in the dark and flying blind. So appreciate you putting your hard skills to work. Once upon a time, I knew how to use it, and now I'm just a lowly politician who doesn't exercise my hard skills too often anymore. So I appreciate all of you who make that data and information possible for us. Well, we recognize city employees here on a regular basis, and it's great to recognize a group who I think are a group of unsung heroes, right? They'll get recognition every single day, but we appreciate you. Thank you.
Clerk, could you read the proclamation?
Happily. Whereas the City of Fresno recognizes that the understanding, use, and application of geospatial technology is crucial to operating our infrastructure, enhancing public safety, and stimulating economic growth, thus benefiting the welfare of the general public throughout the Central Valley. And whereas Geographic Information Systems, known in short as GIS, is a computer-based tool that stores, analyzes, and displays geographic data. GIS uses data that is attached to a unique location, which helps users understand patterns and relationships in the world around them. GIS is represented by placing data on a map for visual presentation and ease of reporting and understanding. And whereas there is a need to promote GIS awareness, education, and technical training to use this rapidly developing technology to its full potential. And whereas the City of Fresno recognizes the value of those who have chosen GIS as their profession or as part of their discipline to improve the lives of our citizens. And whereas having a day of GIS activities open to students, citizens, and government leaders will help promote science, technology, engineering, and math, popularly known as STEM, education, to inspire others to a higher calling to use technology for good. And whereas the City of Fresno is committed to utilizing GIS to inform decision-making and better serve its residents and make useful geographic information open and easily available to the public as a platform for innovation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Jerry Dyer, and members of the Fresno City Council do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 21st, 2024 to be Geographic Information Services Day in the City of Fresno.
I commend you all because I did try to learn GIS unsuccessfully, so kudos to you all. Up next, we have the proclamation honoring Flowway's 90th anniversary.
Hi. So, as many of you know, the mayor is on his way back to Fresno from an overseas trip, and I know is seriously bummed to not be here today with you. We all know that the mayor has a serious case of FOMO, fear of missing out. But I think fortunately he'll be able to attend an event that you all are having and be able to celebrate. I think it's really incredible when we have a Fresno company celebrating 90 years. That's a really big deal in our community. So going back to the 30s, 1934, that is amazing. And I know, you've had different iterations of the company, as from when it was founded to the present day of where we are as Flowway. I actually remember when it was Peabody Flowway. That goes to show how old I am. And it's a very cool, interesting company, and I would love for you to share just a couple minutes about what you do. I know when we say, Flowway pumps, but I think what you do is really, really interesting, and perhaps you could share a little bit and kind of maybe how it trickles down into sort of the everyday world for normal people.
So my name is Brian Wojtyla. I'm the managing director. First off, thank you, council members and the mayor and the mayor's office for celebrating this with us. Like you mentioned, 90 years. It's a huge achievement for the brand and manufacturing. We've been in the valley since the beginning. But yeah, so what we do is we make centrifugal pumps that are used in the water market globally. We do everything from clean water to water processing to water transmission, and the origination of Flowway actually started in the agricultural business. So that's where it was born under Peabody Flowway here in the valley. And we've since grown since then. So water is still very much a part of everything we do, bringing clean water to citizens, not just here in the valley, but all up and down California, as well as all over the world. We now manufacture products here in Fresno, California, that are shipped all around the world. So we have a global business which has grown over the years. The other thing I'd mention is because of the strong heritage in manufacturing here in the valley, we also have successfully completed the integration of another facility that was in Salt Lake City, Utah, now into the facility here. So we've grown our footprint. We've grown our jobs. We've brought more jobs and more skills and capability here throughout the years. So it's an exciting time to celebrate.
That is amazing. Obviously, being able to manufacture products in Fresno and ship them out globally, an international company, that is huge for economic development efforts and job creation in the city of Fresno. So thank you so much for all that you do, and congratulations on your 90th anniversary. I'm going to ask the clerk if you could go ahead and read the proclamation, please.
Gladly. Whereas, in 1934, Lord Feast and Lowell Furstenberger began manufacturing products for local markets under the name Feast and Furstenberger Manufacturing in Fresno, and whereas Feast and Furstenberger first began manufacturing vertical turbine type pumps in 1938 and continued manufacturing the pumps along with armaments in support of the Allied effort during World War II, and whereas during the 1950s, Feast and Furstenberger expanded its sales and marketing efforts outside of California, including purchasing A.O. Smith's Vertical Turbine Pump Division, a company that specialized in fuel transfer pumps. And whereas, in 1968, Lowe Furstenberger purchased the company from Lloyd Feast and renamed it Flowway Pumps. And whereas, Flowway Pumps in the ensuing decade would be purchased by several different companies, first by Peabody International in 1975 when the trade name was changed to Peabody Flowway Pumps, and whereas in 1984 the Pullman Company purchased Peabody International and all its subsidiaries, which was then purchased by Fortsman Little Company in 1986. And whereas in 1992, the Weir Group PLC purchased Peabody Flowway Pumps and Flowway Pumps became the new trade name. And whereas in 2019, Flowway Pumps was acquired by First Reserve and Flowway became the new trade name, ultimately becoming part of Trillium Flows Technologies. And whereas Flowway has been doing business for 90 years in Fresno, nearly doubling in size over the past 5, employing more than 200 people and recently completing an expansion of its facility. The city of Fresno recognizes Flowway for its longevity and outstanding service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Jerry Dyer, and members of the Fresno City Council do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 21st, 2024 to be Flowway Day in the city of Fresno.
Thank you, City Manager. Up next are council member reports and comments. We're going to start first with Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Council President. A couple of updates. As you might have heard the news, we now have a Fresno Monopoly Game Board. I'd like to announce that my district won for having most areas featured in that Monopoly board, including the Water Tower, Warden's Theater, the Zoo, Fulton Street, and Roding Park. And I am going to make it a point to buy a Fresno Monopoly board for this council to get my colleagues up north familiar with the rest of the city. I know some of you get lost sometimes. Additionally, quick announcement, starting December 11th, the Downtown Ice Ring will be back in downtown Fresno, sponsored by the City of Fresno and the Downtown Fresno Partnership. So I invite everyone to attend, bring your kids, and for Councilmember Esparza, please don't bring the ice skates, just bring them for your daughter. Additionally, we have completed the roof repairs at Warden's Theater, thanks to the support of the city. The roof emergency repairs were completed last week, and now we're in a position to support the Warden's Theater in their endeavor to continue fundraising to complete renovations of that historic theater in our city. And lastly, I know there's some speed bumps that have been installed. We've now awarded the contract for additional speed bumps. And City Manager, we are looking for an update from Public Works on when we can expect the other speed bumps to be installed. Recently, there was speed bumps installed on Linden, I believe, in Tower. So folks believe that we are starting to install all of them, but I recall that most of the speed bump installations occur in the summertime for carrying purposes. But folks are now under the impression that we're ready to start installing speed bumps. So if we can just get an update on when we can anticipate the speed bump installation across the city that were approved in the most recent contract, that would be helpful. And those are all my comments for the time being. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Maxwell.
Thank you, Council President. Just a couple of updates. I want to give a huge thank you to my friend Dora Westerlin and all the great folks at the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation. Last year during the budget, Council President Perea and I set aside about $2 million to go towards facade improvement program along the Blackstone Corridor, the Airport District, and Tower District. A lot of old businesses, a lot of great businesses that have been around for a while have a difficult time, sometimes financially, keeping up the front of the buildings. This program allowed them to do things like put in new landscaping, put on a fresh coat of paint, buy new signs to attract more customers to their business, and Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation helped us facilitate that program. We've done at least a dozen businesses in my district alone. Really great businesses like Bentley's Drum Shop, Javier's Home Appliances, Borelli and Associates, and Vision View were able to make really meaningful upgrades to their businesses that they've invested a lot of time and money into. So thank you to the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation. I want to thank the Fresno State Amendola Student Cupboard. They invited me out yesterday for their 10th anniversary. there is a lot of food insecurity in our community. It's basically individuals that don't know when or where they're going to get their next meal from. And unfortunately, 43% of Fresno State students face some sort of food insecurity in their lives. This student cupboard is open every day of the week. Students are welcome to come every day if they wish, get groceries to make a meal, feed themselves. A lot of students going to Fresno State to break out of generational poverty, and they're there to get a good education and focus on their academics, and they can't do that if they're constantly thinking about how they're going to get their next meal. So I want to thank everybody at the Amendola Student Cupboard for the work that they do and for inviting me out for their 10th anniversary. And my last announcement, this upcoming Sunday, November 24th, my office is going to hold our 4th annual Operation Gobble event. This is something my predecessor, Paul Capriolio, started and inspired several of us on the council to continue that tradition in our respective districts. Basically, I go to one of my most economically impacted neighborhoods, El Dorado Park neighborhood, where a lot of folks don't have the means to feed their families for Thanksgiving. And we give away around 300 to 400 turkeys. We give away sides. We give away drinks so that families could come pick up a meal and be able to celebrate Thanksgiving with their family and not have to worry about the finances of it all. So if you're in that neighborhood, if you're in District 4 and you're in need of a little assistance, stop on by. Again, it's going to be this Sunday, November 24th. It's going to be at Wesley United Methodist Church on Barstow, not too far from the Fresno State campus. So hope to see you there, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the folks that are going to be volunteering or who have donated goods to make this possible. Fashion Fair, Fresno State Office of the President, the Fresno Police Activities League, Pardini's Catering and Banquets, Ironworkers Local 155, Fresno State ASI, Calviva Health, Mid-Valley Disposal, Amazon, and Reyes Coca-Cola. Thank you, everybody, for making people's Thanksgiving dream come true. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President and City Manager. I just want to make that announcement that we're relaxing parking for our mobile food vendors. So, para nuestros vendedores que nos acompañan hoy, no se tienen que preocupar por los medidores que están allá afuera. La ciudad no va a estar dando multas por el día de hoy para que no tengan que ir adentro y afuera poniendo monedas en los medidores. So, I also want to take the opportunity to thank our partners for the turkey dinner giveaway that we'll be doing. Big thank you to Sunnyside Diner for helping and supporting. We're working with nonprofits on identifying some of the families. And then also thank you to Pat and Phil from the Southeast Calawa Christmas Drive that we are now working on. So if anybody is interested in supporting them, we do a big gift wrapping day over at Mosqueda right before Christmas. We would like to have volunteers, so we'll be posting some information on how you can help with that. And then also we're working on the Huntington Boulevard Christmas festivities for the kids, working with our partners over at the Jackson Neighborhood Association. I am working really, really hard on actually getting reindeers there for the kids. Not sure how we'll be able to figure that out, but City Manager, I'm sure there's like permits and requirements that we have to secure for that. But as a backup, we'll have, if we can't get reindeers, we'll have ponies, little pony rides on there. And so with that, thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Esparza.
Thank you, Council President. First off, I want to thank all the residents and constituents who came out to our fall town hall yesterday over at Leavenworth Elementary. We appreciate them taking their time out of their evenings to attend and give feedback and listen to updates. And a big thank you to the various department directors who attended and helped to provide D7 residents with insights on the great work the city is doing and to answer their questions about their very, very specific issues. So again, I appreciate the administration as well as our city attorney for stepping in to help folks in D7. A couple of other things we've been up to. I had the honor of participating in this year's Central Valley Veterans Day Parade again, where we paid tribute to the brave men and women who have served our country. And so that was a great time to be in community with the veteran community, and look forward to doing that each and every year. Lastly, it was also an honor to join everyone at the Fresno Center's Giving Thanks event, their annual event, and to serve as their keynote speaker. So I just want to say sort of an early happy holidays and happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and that'll conclude my remarks. Thanks, Council President.
Thank you, Council Member. Council Vice President.
Thank you, Madam President. So a couple great things happened over the last couple of weeks. We had a new business, one of the new businesses opening in Northwest Fresno called Rejuvenate over on Herndon and West. It was really neat to see a program that was actually supported through the City of Fresno's Economic Development Department. This is with some funding through Access Plus Capital. This is a woman-owned business, and they're just starting out. And based on the presentation they made, I don't doubt they're going to have multiple locations someday. And that all started right here in Northwest Fresno. So I'm very pleased and I want to congratulate them. That was even featured in the Business Journal for those of you that may have actually read about that. Also, one of the funniest things I got to do, which we get to do a lot of public events, which are great, but I got to go speak to a Cub Scouts group, and with the Scouts now, it is integrated now, so it's boys and girls, and they had a lot of interesting questions about government and trying to explain how, the city works, and that was interesting. Best question was, what's your favorite type of chips? So that was interesting, but that was the one that kind of caught me off guard. But it was great. And another thing is Thanksgiving. So right now, we've all heard about food insecurity and the challenges we all face. And I know all of us have in our minds, we want that picturesque version of a Thanksgiving meal. But the last thing anyone needs is more stress and trauma. And if you do need help, there are resources. Whether you have a turkey or a turkey sandwich, as long as you're sitting together with family and enjoying each other and caring for each other, that's really what matters. I know it sounds cliche, but it's not worth fighting, it's not worth yelling, it's not worth screaming, it's not worth any confrontation. It's just about being together and putting everything aside, including political differences. So I hope everyone has a very blessed Thanksgiving. And remember, it's just about being together and being thankful for what we do have. To talk about Operation Gobble, there's a couple of those going on, which is terrific. I think in Northwest Fresno, this is our 5th, which is really exciting. It's a big milestone for us, and we partner with Clovis Unified. So there are 2 schools in Northwest Fresno that are Clovis Unified elementary schools. One of them is Nelson Elementary, and the other one's Pinedale Elementary. And we have a lot of great community partners coming forward to donate funds. I really want to thank our key sponsors, PG&E and Caglia, the Caglia Company, for donating. We're going to have complete boxes of everything you'd need, from a turkey to all the fixings, so that maybe you are facing food insecurity, but you will be able to not have to worry about that and being able to prepare a Thanksgiving meal for your family. And it'll be all done through a drive-through at Pinedale Elementary. The vouchers are through Pinedale and Nelson, so if you have kids that go there, you're eligible to get vouchers. But we also had many vouchers go out to some groups like the Marjorie Mason Center, Valley Caregivers Resource for seniors that are at risk, and also to a really important group, and that includes our National Guard families, because many of them, unfortunately, do have financial need, and while their loved ones are stationed serving, we will be able to provide for them. And that is in partnership with so many great groups out there. I have to thank my staff for their great work. They've been pulling their hair out, trying to make sure everything gets done logistically, but also Kimi Shahadi and the Assistance League. Without those volunteers and those kids, a lot of them are in high school or middle school, and they're taking their time on their break to come out on a Monday and a Tuesday to help distribute those meals. Can't be done without them. So I really do want to express my gratitude. It's something that I look forward to every year. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I too will be holding an Operation Gobble in District 1. We'll be partnering with 3 different schools to give out over 1,000 turkeys, excuse me, to families all throughout District 1. And so I want to thank all of our community partners who helped to make that happen. Also want to congratulate Design Science Middle College High School for earning the prestigious 2024 National Blue Ribbon School Award of Excellence. That's a pretty huge accomplishment. And so it was my honor to be there with everyone celebrating that great accomplishment. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to Martin's Grill. They are a District 1 business who has expanded to having a brick and mortar in Prather. And Martin's Grill started out as a food meal prep service. They grew to a tent. They grew then to a mobile food truck. And now they do have their brick and mortar. And so it's a true testament to what hard work, grit, and commitment, along with community support, does for somebody who puts everything into their small business. So congratulations to Martin's Grill. City Manager, do you have anything to report today?
I don't have anything specific other than my annual, and I actually cried last year, I think, but I'm not going to this year because Gary made fun of me too much. Given that Thanksgiving is coming very shortly, just want to acknowledge my thankfulness and appreciation for my city family, who at times I've spent more time around than my own family. So I am thankful for all of you and what all of you do for our community. I know it's a heavy lift and it's a commitment and it's a sacrifice that you all do. It is one of those jobs that you get a lot of things thrown at you, and I know when you care, it's sometimes hard to have things and arrows slung at you. So I want to acknowledge all that you guys do for the community because I know it's a lot. To our city employees, thank you for all that you do day in and day out, time away from your families, and sometimes late hours and early mornings, and balancing family and work. And taking it from someone who's been very unsuccessful at that, I want to thank you all for all that you do because we couldn't do it without you. So thank you. Just wanted to express my appreciation during this season of Thanksgiving.
Thank you, City Manager. Well said. We're going to move on now to scheduled hearing and matters. Up first is the 9:10 a.m. item. This is a hearing to adopt resolutions and an ordinance to annex territory and levy a special tax regarding City of Fresno CFD number 9, annexation number 63. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Council President. My name is Adrian Gonzalez, Supervising Engineering Technician with the Public Works Department. So this is the required public hearing to annex Assessor's Parcel number 511-250-02 into Community Facilities District number 9. This is a 67-unit multifamily development that's located along Blythe, south of Ashland, in your Council District 1. The public improvements that the project is installing include curb and gutter, sidewalk, and street lights. The cost of services to maintain these facilities is going to total $476 annually, and that's going to include the typical 2% yearly escalator. We have received the ballot in favor of the annexation, and I do not believe the owner is present. And staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Just for the record, is the property owner here? And if so, would they like to speak? I do not see them. Council, any questions at this time? All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there any member of the public who would like to provide input on this item? Please come up. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and bring it back up to the dais for discussion and action. Can I get a motion? I have a motion by Councilmember Arias and a second by Councilmember Bredefield. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. We'll now move on to our 9:15 a.m. item. This is a hearing to consider City Council initiated general plan amendment and rezone application number P24-00589 and related environmental assessment. Good morning.
Good morning, Council President, Council members. Ralph Cacciadorian, Supervising Planner in the Planning Department. What you have before you is a council-initiated general plan amendment and rezone, as well as the environmental assessment for that general plan amendment and rezone. This is for the properties located at the northwest corner of East McKinley and North Fine. And it is approximately 2.26 acres of parcel of property, both developed and partially developed. And it has gone to the Planning Commission with their recommendation for you to consider its approval. If you have any questions, we can answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Kachadorian. Is the applicant present? Or that would be us, correct? Are we the applicant? Okay. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions from the council? Seeing none, I will open it up for public hearing. Is there any member of the public who would like to provide input on this item? Please come up at this time. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing for this item and bring it back up to the dais for a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve. I gave my speech last time this was introduced as to why I thought this was the best move for that neighborhood. I was lucky to have you guys' support when we initiated this process. Hope to have your support today. So, motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Maxwell and a second by Councilmember Esparza. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. I do have a 10 a.m. scheduled appearance by Fernando Elizondo regarding unsung heroes. Good morning, Mr. Elizondo. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. The Lord is my strength and my defense. Peace be with you. I'm here for make a recommendation of a proclamation for 2 police officers that are deceased now. They put 50 years together of their lives, and I believe they deserve a proclamation. Their names are Lieutenant Jose Morales and his wife, Yolanda Morales. I ask that you take in consideration their service, 50 years between the two of them, 30 by Jose and 20 by Yolanda. I have requested the granddaughter of these deceased people to receive it, and she agreed to it if the council decides to honor these people. That's why I'm here today. I know there's circumstances, but I don't think they should get involved or get in the way of their proclamation. I think you understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to elaborate. It'll be 20 years that this incident happened, but the truth came out. Lieutenant Jose Morales never committed suicide. A year ago, right here, I was sitting there, and Jerry Dyer came with tears in his eyes and said he repented for what he did. So he took full responsibility of Jose's murder. But I don't think that should have any effect on his service, that he should be allowed to be given a proclamation by the city of Fresno. And Yolanda, his wife, too, who's also deceased now. That's all I'm here for. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our 925 hearing. This is to consider adoption of the new definition of the highest needs neighborhood as it pertains to the Fresno Clean and Safe Neighborhoods Parks Transactions and Use Tax, also known as Measure P. Good morning, Director.
Good morning, Council President, members of the Council, Aaron Aguirre. The item before you is a public hearing to consider the adoption of the new definition, the highest needs neighborhood, as required by the Measure P ordinance. The definition will determine which neighborhoods are eligible for the highest needs funding for park improvements for calendar years 2025 to 2027. The proposed definition is based on a comprehensive analysis of various factors. A council workshop was held on November 7th. The presentation is attached to this presentation. It can be referenced if needed. Also with me today is our consultant, WRT, who you heard from last time, as well as park staff to answer any questions you all may have. With that, that concludes our presentation, and available to answer any questions you all may have or go through the presentation if you all want to review that again.
Thank you, Director. We did
Thank
go
you.
through that at the last meeting, so
Correct.
unless council would like to see that again, I would suggest we forego that. Any questions from the council members? Council Vice President?
Thank you. And yeah, thank you. Council President is correct. We did go through this exhaustive discussion last meeting. Just to be clear, what was the PRAC's recommendation on this matter?
So the PRAC was presented the same presentation you all saw, and they had a unanimous vote for the 50% definition. The vote was a 6-0 vote.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to open up the public hearing for this item. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide input? This is the 925 adoption of the new definition of highest needs neighborhoods for Measure P. Please go ahead and come up at this time. Seeing no one, I will go ahead and close the public hearing on this item. Bring it back up to the dais. Is there a motion?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the newest highest needs at 50% as recommended by PRAC.
I have a motion to approve the PRAC's recommendation and a sec by Council Vice President Karbasi, seconded by Councilmember Chavez. Any objection?
Nay.
Item passes 6-1. Up next is a 9:30 a.m. hearing to consider the vacation of portions of excess public street right-of-way on the northeast side of North Weber Avenue and the southeast side of West Farrington Avenue. Good morning.
Good morning, Council President, council members, and members of the public. My name is Jason Cammett. I'm the Chief Surveyor of the Public Works Division, and I bring this item before you today as the applicant, Fresno Hospitality LLC, has been conditioned to vacate this excess right-of-way. It is located on the northeast side of Weber Avenue and southeast side of West Farrington Avenue. It is a condition of approval for the development permit application number 2200207, the development and construction of a 3-story hotel, the Hilton Home 2 Suites. Today, I ask council to open the public hearing for the required public hearing for the Public Streets and Highways Code, and I ask on behalf of the applicant. I'm here for questions.
Thank you. Is the property owner present? See no one, I'll take any questions from council members. Councilmember Arias.
Staff, can you provide me a more layman's term explanation of what you're seeking for us to approve today? I'm a little confused on what you're actually proposing here.
What the applicant is asking is a public hearing for the vacation of excess right-of-way along Farrington Avenue. It is on the area, it's in the old town of Herndon, and it is for it was conditioned by planning to vacate the excess right-of-way.
Do you have a map of that area that you're proposing that we give away?
I do.
So it's over by El Paseo, the shopping center, and it's an old street alignment that we used to have 80 feet. We don't do streets that are 80 feet wide. We only do 60 feet now. And so we have this on, this is this part 2 of this process to vacate. So this is the hearing. So normally we revert, the property will then be able to be part of a development, that we don't need that extra 20 feet for the street.
Understood, but I'm not familiar with the area. It's not my district. I'd like to see a visual of what you're proposing that we give up. Do you have that?
I do.
Where is it at?
It should be in the staff report, and it's also.
Can you pop it up?
Yep.
I don't see it on our packet.
It's excess right-of-way of 10 feet on both streets that are associated and adjacent to the project.
So you're essentially proposing that the parcel is currently owned by the city, and you're proposing that we sell it to the developer?
No, not at all. What we have is a public street easement. The underlying fee ownership is the applicant's.
Is the applicant's?
Yeah. We're just removing our public street easement to accommodate the designation of the road now, which is 60-foot designation instead of 80.
And what happens with the additional feet, the 20 feet that we're giving up easement on?
It's only 10 feet.
Or 10 feet?
Yeah, we just remove our encumbrance on the property.
What happens to that, to 10 feet?
Basically, they can use that land for development now.
Got it. And is there proposed development to do what with those additional 10 feet? Is it a physical building or is it landscaping buffers?
I don't have that plan in front of me at the moment, but I do believe it would be sidewalk and landscape in that area.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Council Vice President.
No, this is an item that I did pull for more review with staff, and I really do appreciate staff thoroughly going through this process. I think it's going to be a really good addition to the area. That vacant lot has done no good for anybody, and now to have those improvements the developer will pay will go a long way to clean up the area and add more amenities. So I make a motion to approve.
Okay. I believe I still need to take this one out for public comment. So at this time, I am going to open it up for public comment. This is for the 9:30 a.m. item. Would anyone like to provide input on this one? Please go ahead and come up. Seeing no one, I will close the public comment portion. Council Vice President, can you please repeat your motion?
Sure. I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Council Vice President, seconded by Councilmember Arias. Any objection? Seeing none, item passes 7-0. Our last timed item is going to be the 9:40 a.m. item. This is a hearing to consider the vacation of a portion of public street right-of-way at the northeast corner of South Hughes and West Dan Ronquillo Drive.
Good morning again. Jason Cammett, Public Works. This is a similar situation. This is a public street right-of-way vacation, a public hearing for a public street right-of-way vacation on the northeast corner of Hayes Avenue and Dan Ronquillo. And it is associated with also a project that was conditioned by site plan number P2106225. And it's a development by the GS Central Valley Investments LLC, which are proposing a truck wash, lube, and repair development in that area. This has also been a condition of that site plan, and we're asking council to open up the public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions from the council at this time?
I do have just a comment for the record. I've tabled this item a few times. My position on vacationing any city right-of-way has been that until we have a project that's ready to construct, we're not going to give up any public right-of-way, because then we end up having to chase down these limited liability companies across the country who eventually end up buying them to clean out and clear out homeless encampments. So they become a huge magnet. So I just want to put on the record that I've been assured by the city staff that this project is ready for construction. And so if there are any encampments that appear in the next, 60 or 90 days, then I'm going to, remind staff of their commitment and the developer of that commitment. Because right now, as a city-owned property, we have the right to clear it out within the hour. If we have to chase down a limited liability company for months on end to clear it out, it's going to be a significant problem for us. So just want to put that on the record. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Is the property owner here by chance? Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to provide input on this item? Please come up. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing portion for this item. Councilmember Arias, can you repeat your motion, please?
Motion to approve staff recommendation.
I have a motion to approve the 9:40 a.m. item by Councilmember Arias and a second by Councilmember Bredefeld. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. Up next is the consent calendar. Do any council members wish to register a no vote, abstention, or recusal on any consent items? Please punch up. All right, seeing no one, punch up. We're going to take public comment now on all consent items, contested consent, and closed session items. Is Susan Monet here? Susan, are you speaking on an agenda item, or is this just? It's regarding animals. Okay. So you'll come up during the second public comment portion. Up first, we have Adriana Martinez-Lot. Good morning. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, council members. My name is Ariana Martinez-Lot. I have lived with my family in District 7 for the last 7 years. And one of my kids' absolute favorite pastime is hearing that little magical bell ringing in a near distance when they scream, "It's elote time." And so they will get their favorite, a raspado and an elote, and oftentimes they're feeling very lucky and they push me for extra chicharrones. And as they enjoy that, I get to sit and observe their interactions with our neighborhood street vendor, reflecting on why we continue to push this issue. Councilmember Arias, when I worked in your office, I remember very clearly your words to me with the street vending cameras. We do not have the luxury to wait on this issue because our street vendors do not have that luxury. I sent to you all a detailed description of our opposition to this ordinance. It will also be made publicly available along with the original policy and a little bit of the timeline of this process. I do believe that every single one of you council members can do right by this street vending community because I believe that Fresno is better than this. The street vendors have the right to be treated as a business sector in Fresno. Your talking points may say that the fines were reduced and that we're going to have a robust 6-month education period. But there is also language attached to those changes, still leaving vendors vulnerable to excessive fines. This process has not been just, and other business sectors have not been treated this way on this dais. We ask you all to reconsider this policy and work with us on a more comprehensive approach because our street vendors do not have the luxury that we do to not take this policy seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Maria de la Luz. For those who do require translation services, we will be giving you 6 minutes total.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María de la Luz.
Good morning, my name is María de la Luz.
Soy vendedora ambulante.
I am a mobile vendor.
Y vengo para que nos esperen con la ordenanza porque, bueno, que nos, ¿cómo se dice? Que nos den más extensión porque día con día en las calles pasa algo diferente.
I'm here to ask for an extension on this ordinance because day by day something new happens, selling on the streets.
Y pues sí, todos los días pasan cosas diferentes en la calle.
Every day something different happens out working.
Y me gustaría que dilataran un poquito más, o sea, porque cada día, ¿cómo se dice? pues sí pasan cosas diferentes cada día y me gustaría que las ordenanzas fueran más diferentes.
Yeah, different things happen every day, and I would like for the ordinances to be different.
Es todo, gracias.
That's everything. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Up next is Martha Alvarado. Buenos días, tienes 6 minutos.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Gracias por escuchar nuestra petición, concejales.
Thank you for listening to our petition, council members.
Mi nombre es Marta Alvarado,
My name is Marta Alvarado.
nacionalidad mexicana.
I am of Mexican nationality.
Vengo en nombre de mis compañeros vendedores ambulantes de aquí de Fresno.
I come in the name of my colleagues, or mobile vendors here in Fresno.
Sé que muchos de ustedes son latinos y por lo tanto les pido de favor consideren esta ordenanza.
I know that many of you are Latinos, and I ask you to please consider this ordinance.
No les venimos a pedir nada regalado. Sé que en esta vida todo cuesta.
We're not here to ask for anything to be given to us. I know that everything has a price in life.
Pero sé que muchos de ustedes tienen la bendición de tener una cena digna esta acción de gracias.
But I know that a lot of you guys have the blessings of having a dignified Thanksgiving coming up.
Mas, sin embargo, nosotros, la Asociación de Vendedores Ambulantes, estamos con el estrés de que implementen esta nueva ordenanza.
On the other hand, as mobile vendors are feeling a lot of stress on the fact that this ordinance is being considered and could be applied.
No estamos pensando que si va a haber pavo, que si va a haber pierna, que si va a haber jamón.
We're not thinking about if there's going to be a turkey, if there's going to be legs, turkey legs, if there's going to be a ham. We're not worried about that.
Estamos pensando en que esta ordenanza nos va a venir afectando demasiado a todos nosotros porque ahorita las ventas están por el suelo.
We're more worried about how this ordinance is going to affect us all because our sales are very low.
De parte de mis compañeros, no les venimos a pedir que nos arreglen la vida, simple y sencillamente que nos aporten un granito de arena que sé que está en la mano de todos ustedes.
On behalf of my colleagues, we're not here asking for anything to be given to us. We're just asking that you contribute your small grain of sand and help us with this ordinance.
Le doy las gracias a usted, Analisa Perea, por escucharnos.
I want to give you the thanks, Annalisa Perea, for listening to us.
Sé que Dios va a tocar el corazón de cada uno de ustedes.
I know that God is going to touch every one of your hearts.
Y sé que no van a hacer lo correcto, pero sí van a hacer lo justo por cada uno de nosotros, porque como ustedes saben,
I know that you might not do the right thing, but I know that you will do the just thing for each and every one of us.
estamos viviendo una economía ahorita demasiado difícil y es muy triste estar todas las mañanas en el frío.
We are living in a very difficult economy right now, and it's very sad to be out, every morning, every day in the cold.
Tratando de conseguir el alimento para llevar a la mesa todos los días.
Trying to earn a living so we can bring food to the table every day.
En lo personal, para mí es difícil que soy madre soltera, que ya no estoy manteniendo hijos, pero tengo que pagar mi renta, mis biles, mis aseguranzas.
For me, it is very challenging. I am a single mother. I no longer have to provide for my children, but I still have bills, and I have bills to cover.
No quiero imaginar para todos los compañeros que todavía tienen niños de escuela y ahorita en estos tiempos tan difíciles, cómo se las están mirando.
I can only imagine, thinking of my colleagues who still have children, school-age children, how difficult these things may be for them, how the hard times they're going through.
De antemano, muchísimas gracias a cada uno de ustedes y les reitero que Dios toque su corazón y hagan lo justo para nosotros.
Again, thank you all so very much, and I would like to reiterate, I hope that God touches each and one of your hearts and you do the right thing for us. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Teresa Castillo. Buenos días.
Buenos días a todos ustedes. Mi nombre es Teresa.
Good morning, all. My name is Teresa.
Yo quiero venir a pedir en nombre de todos mis compañeros y de mí.
I want to come and speak on behalf of all of my colleagues as well as myself.
Espero y consideren esta ordenanza y no la aprueben
I
ahora.
really hope that you think about this ordinance and you do not approve it today.
Esperamos que hagan una ordenanza acorde a que nosotros la podamos obedecer y podamos seguirla.
I hope that you think of an ordinance according to what we can fulfill, what we can obey, so we could follow the ordinance.
Si ustedes supieran el bien que hacen o hicieran, que pudieran sacar a 2, 3 vendedores de la calle,
If you only knew all the good you can do in helping 2, 3 vendors to, leave street vending.
porque a base de nuestro trabajo los podemos mandar a la universidad. Ellos no tuvieran que tener este impacto de nosotros estar en las calles vendiendo.
We could have the impact, we could have the help to send some to university so that they didn't have to find themselves selling in the situation where they need to go to street vending.
Tal vez ustedes no lo vean, pero cada uno de nosotros sí pensamos en nuestros hijos, sacarlos adelante y no tener que ellos estar vendiendo como nosotros.
Maybe you guys don't see this or think about it, but we are thinking of our children. We are thinking on how we can help them progress, how they can move on to no longer not have to do street vending. They can move on and go to university.
Espero y consideren su voto y nos entiendan.
I hope you really understand, consider your vote, and I hope you can understand us.
Sí queremos reglas, sí las queremos seguir,
We do want rules and we want to follow them,
pero acorde a nuestro negocio,
but according to the needs of our business.
porque tenemos estas reglas que en verdad no las podemos seguir.
We
Ustedes las van a poner, pero no las vamos a poder seguir todas.
We have these rules and we honestly can't follow them. You're going to implement these rules, but we will not be able to follow them.
Todos estamos de acuerdo en seguirlas, pero yo estoy segura que todas no las vamos a poder seguir.
We all agree on following the rules, but I can guarantee you we won't.
Ojalá y consideren su voto y puedan hacer una ordenanza acorde a nuestro negocio y a nuestras necesidades.
I really do hope that you reconsider your vote and you make an ordinance that will be helpful according to our needs, that we
Muchas
can
gracias
follow.
por oírnos y ponernos atención y ojalá y voten en contra ahora de esta ordenanza que está.
Thank you so much for listening to us. I really hope you reconsider and vote in our favor.
Muchas gracias. Up next, Miguel Lopez. Buenos días.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Miguel López, presidente de la Asociación de Vendedores de aquí de Fresno.
Good morning. My name is Miguel Lopez. I am the president of the mobile vendors here in Fresno.
Tal vez muchos no me conocen. Hemos estado aquí luchando por 3 años que se formó la asociación.
Maybe not a lot of you recognize me, but we have been here fighting now for 3 hours since we formed this association.
Y venimos a pedirles que por favor no pasen esta ordenanza porque todavía no estamos preparados.
We are here to ask you to please not pass this ordinance because we are still not ready. We're not prepared.
Porque hay muchas cláusulas que todavía no las entendemos. Queremos más tiempo para poder entender todo lo que ustedes nos están pidiendo.
There are still a lot of clauses that we don't fully understand. We would like to have more time to understand what you are asking of us.
Muchos de los compañeros tienen miedo, tienen incertidumbre de qué va a pasar.
A lot of our colleagues are scared. They're not sure what's going to happen.
Entonces queremos más tiempo, queremos algo justo de que nos den el tiempo para que nosotros podamos ya prepararnos y estar ya listos con los permisos. Bueno, la mayoría de nosotros ya tenemos permisos. Hay muchos compañeros que no tienen su permiso todavía. Sabemos que todavía nos falta el permiso del condado.
So we are just here to ask for more time. We are here to ask for something just. We are, some of us already do have our permits. A lot of us don't, and we would like to have more time. We are still waiting on permits from the county as well. We are asking for more time on this ordinance.
Pero como ustedes se dan cuenta, el concejal Luis Chávez, Miguel Arias y otros concejales Se han dado cuenta que hemos estado trabajando, no estamos sentados. Hemos venido luchando ya por 3 años y no hemos logrado concretar todavía cumplir con el condado. Tenemos 3 compañeros que ya cumplen con los requisitos, pero todavía somos muchos compañeros que todavía no tenemos.
And we are aware that many of you have seen the work we're doing. Arias, Chavez, you have noticed, and some of you still have yet to see all the work we're putting in. We have been working on this for 3 years, and we still haven't come to a complete understanding of the ordinances. So we are asking for more help, more time to learn what we need to do, and to please not pass vote on this ordinance.
Ahorita lo que nos detiene un poquito es el alto costo del carrito que cumple con el condado.
Right now, what's kind of holding us back at the moment is the high cost of the cart that the county is asking for us to have.
Eso es lo que nos está atando todavía, pero estamos luchando, estamos mirando. Como les repito, ya tenemos 3 compañeros que ya tienen su carrito aprobado por el condado.
But we are still working hard towards it. We're still trying. Like I mentioned, we have 3 colleagues who already have their carts, approved carts from the county.
Lo que sí les quiero pedir es que, por favor, reconozcan a la asociación formalmente, como le he pedido al concejal Luis Chávez, al concejal Milarias y a todos los concejales, que reconozcan oficialmente aquí en la ciudad de Fresno a la asociación de vendedores, porque nosotros queremos trabajar y queremos, si hay organizaciones que nos puedan apoyar para que podamos tener un fondo para poder ya cumplir con el carrito, estaría perfecto.
Asking for your support. Arias Chavez has been supporting us. We're asking for your help in order to continue on. If there can be funding to help us to be better prepared with these permits and ordinances, we're asking for your support and to be able to fulfill them and your time.
Pues, les quiero dar las gracias por escucharnos y por tomarnos en cuenta. Como les digo, seguimos trabajando. Si queremos que esta ordenanza todavía no la pasen, hasta que ya podamos ya estar listos y preparados nosotros. Y pues les doy las gracias a todos.
Again, thank you so
En
much
nombre de mis compañeros.
for all of your time. We ask you recognize us as an association as we continue working harder. And again, we thank you. We really hope that you reconsider this ordinance.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Alma González.
Buenas tardes a cada uno de todos ustedes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
La verdad, a todos, muchas gracias por escucharnos y tener su tiempo y su paciencia para estarnos escuchando.
Honestly, thank you so much for all your time and your patience here listening to us.
Pues yo nomás quiero decir unas cuantas cosas.
I just want to say a few things.
Que ustedes nomás están viendo sus intereses.
You guys are only looking out for your own interests.
Y los intereses de los de arriba que tienen dinero.
And the interests of those higher up who have money.
Negocios grandes.
Big business.
Y no se están poniendo la atención en nosotros que no tenemos ni negocios.
And you're not giving us the attention, those of us who don't even have a business.
Y que lo único que podemos hacer es trabajar en lo que hacemos en nuestras ventas.
Those of us who all we can do is just work on our sales.
Como nuestras tradiciones sabemos muchas comidas diferentes.
Traditionally, we know how to make a lot of different foods.
Y que a la mayoría de personas les gusta todo lo que se hace, lo que vendemos.
And the majority of people enjoy everything that we make and what we sell.
Y no porque andamos vendiendo así somos personas cochinas.
And it's not because we're selling like that. That doesn't mean that we're dirty people.
Y tampoco ganamos la millonada.
But we also don't make millions.
Todos aquí, la verdad, trabajamos con mucho esfuerzo en lo que vendemos.
Honestly, we all work very, very hard in what we sell.
Y lo hacemos con mucho respeto a toda la gente.
And we do it with profound respect for everyone.
Lo que sí me gustaría en lo personal y como todos mis compañeros,
what I would like personally, as well as my colleagues,
con todo respeto a cada uno,
with all due respect to every one of you,
que las pólizas que están poniendo no debe de ser parejos para todos.
The policies that are being implemented shouldn't be exactly even for everyone.
Porque hasta una multa de 25 para nosotros es mucho dinero.
Because even a $25 fine for us is a lot of money.
Y también quiero decirles que aparte de eso, se puede decir en chiste, hasta un psicólogo nos deben de poner de tan traumatizados que estamos con los de la ciudad.
And as a matter of fact, on top of that, I would just like to say it might sound like a joke, but maybe even a psychologist would be necessary for us because of all the traumas that we've gone through with the city.
Porque aparte de que se burlan de uno,
Because apart from the fact that they laugh at us,
no se ponen de acuerdo entre ellos mismos. Unos te dicen una cosa, otros otra cosa.
they can't agree on anything. Some say one thing, some say another.
Y también a las personas como yo que tengo casa de campaña,
And then those of us, like I have a tent, those of us like me who have a tent,
me quieren arrinconar en un lado donde no pasa ni gente, ni hay gente, ni hay nada,
they want to push me to a corner where people don't swing by. There isn't anyone there.
con peligro de que ahora sí me vayan a robar, me vayan a golpear o yo no sé qué.
I run the risks of being robbed, of being attacked. I don't know what else.
Con estas pólizas que están poniendo, la verdad se me oyen absurdas porque están haciendo
With these policies that are being considered, I really do feel that they are quite absurd.
que la mayoría de mis compañeros se vuelvan a estar escondiendo para vender.
Because what it causes is that the majority of my colleagues have to hide, have to hide and try and sell.
Y corran el peligro que la gente que es mala los vaya a atacar o les vaya a hacer algo.
They run the risk of bad people attacking them or doing something to them.
Yo la verdad como persona que también vendo, si me arrinconan en un lado no sé qué vaya a pasar. Yo tengo hijos que a lo mejor a ustedes no les duelo, pero a mis hijos sí les duelo.
For me, someone who sells, they push me to a corner. I don't know what's going to happen to me. If something happens to me, it might not hurt you guys, but I have children, and my children will hurt if something happens to
Así
me.
como ustedes también tienen familia
Just as you all have families.
y les dolería a ustedes, a ellos si les pasara algo a ustedes. Es lo mismo.
I know it would hurt you if something happened to your family members. It's the same thing for us.
Consideren esta póliza de veras porque en realidad si aprueban esa póliza tan estricta para todos nosotros,
Please consider this policy because if you pass this strict policy for all of us,
va a llegar un día, no, ojalá y Dios quiera que no, que va a pasarle cosas a los vendedores.
the day's gonna come. Hopefully God, doesn't allow it, but the day will come where something's gonna happen to us vendors.
Que los asalten, que los maten.
We're gonna be killed. We can be assaulted.
Y eso va a quedar, yo pienso que en conciencia de cada quien, de los que están apoyando estas leyes y estas pólizas, se oye feo la palabra, tan absurdas.
And that's going to be left on the conscience of all of those who supported and passed these ordinances, these policies. And sorry, but it probably sounds wrong, but it is quite absurd.
Todos queremos respetar las leyes de aquí, de donde sea, no nomás de aquí, de todos lados tratamos de respetar todas las leyes.
We want to respect all the laws here. It doesn't matter where, everywhere. We want to respect all laws.
Pero en realidad muchas cosas no se pueden porque no se ponen al nivel de nosotros, lo que trabajamos y hacemos todo esto.
But realistically, a lot of these things we can't do because you guys don't put yourselves to our levels to see how we work.
Bueno, ahí disculpen lo que dije, pero
Well, sorry for what I said, but
es todo lo que tengo que decir.
that's all I wanted to say for today.
Muchas gracias. Up next is Ana Corona.
Buenos días, soy Ana Corona.
Good morning. My name
Buenos
is Ana
días.
Corona.
Les agradezco que nos hayan tomado en cuenta a nosotros.
Thank you for considering us.
Les voy a contar un poco de mi vida. Es mucho, pero trato de...
I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about my life. It's a lot, but I'm gonna try to tell you some.
Yo me hice vendedora ambulante
I became a mobile vendor
para sostener a mi familia.
so that I can financially support my
Soy
family.
jefe de familia
I am the head of the household,
y Dios me dio el don de ser vendedora.
and God gave me the gift of being a seller.
Cuando decidí estar sola,
When I decided to be alone,
exploté lo que yo sabía,
I went into what I knew how to do,
ser vendedora.
sell.
Siempre he estado a las sombras,
I've always been in the shadows
ya sea por la ciudad,
because of
por
either
el condado,
the city, the county,
por la gente.
because of people.
Siempre he estado luchando
I've always been fighting
contra todo.
against everything.
Contra la intemperie, el sol y todo lo que se viene afuera de las casas.
Against, climate, the sun, everything that you could and you can confront when you leave your home.
Ahora, gracias a la asociación, gracias a las asociaciones que nos han apoyado,
Now, thank you to the association and the other respective associations who have been helping us.
me he estado educando.
I have been educating myself.
He tratado de sacar mis licencias para poder vender tranquila.
Been trying to get proper licenses so I can sell comfortably.
Y ahora me pregunto yo,
And now I ask myself,
esta pólizas que van a pasar ahora,
these policies that are going to be approved,
me va a volver a tiempos atrás.
it's going to push me back to how it was before.
Se me va a hacer más fácil esconderme de nuevo,
It's going to be easier for me to just hide again,
a endrogarme por un carrito que me cuesta más de $16,000 y tener todo lo que el condado pide, lo que la ciudad pide, pero la póliza que ustedes nos están poniendo, no voy a ser libre de vender donde yo pueda vender.
I'm going to be indebted with this cart that cost
Sí.
16,000 around there. Hiding again, I've been going and getting all my license, my permits, and just to be put in the situation back to where I was before, in the same situation that I was in before.
Esas pólizas que están ustedes poniendo, los que van a, pues, yo quisiera que votaran no.
With these policies that you are considering, I would like for you to please vote no.
Porque al yo no tener dinero para comprar ese carrito, voy a volver a tiempos atrás.
Because not having the money to buy that cart is going to force me to be back where I started.
A esconderme,
Hiding,
a tener miedo,
being
a ser perseguida
scared, being chased,
y la impotencia de no hacer nada cuando la ciudad llegue, me tire mi producto, siendo que a mí me costó.
and not being able to do anything, to being powerless when the city comes and tosses all the food that costs me time and money to make.
Entonces me pregunto, ¿para qué, les vuelvo a decir, para qué me endrogo yo con tanto dinero? Va a ser el pago del carro, el pago de mi casa.
So then I ask myself again, why am I indebting myself with all this money, all these costs to buy the cart, to pay for my home,
Si la ciudad no me va a dejar vender tranquila.
if the city is not going to allow me to sell comfortably where I want to?
Ahora ya no va a ser el condado, va a ser la ciudad.
Now it's not just the county, it's the city.
Entonces, por favor, les pido en nombre de todos mis compañeros, en nombre de todos los vendedores, que reconsideren lo que ustedes van a votar
And
ahora.
so I ask you please, and on behalf of myself, my colleagues, and all mobile street vendors, please reconsider the policies you are thinking of passing today.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Miguel Ruiz.
Buenos días,
Good morning.
soy Miguel Ruiz,
My name-
vicepresidente de la Asociación de Vendedores Ambulantes.
My name is Miguel Ruiz. I am vice president of the Association of Mobile Food Vendors.
Como la vez anterior que vine aquí con ustedes, pues vengo pues, a decirles, a reclamar lo mismo de la bolsa que quieren pasar.
Just like I was here last time, I'm here again to speak on the policy that you were thinking of passing.
Que en la forma de que nos va a perjudicar a todos los vendedores ambulantes, a todos los compañeros que realmente aparte no nos dieron el tiempo para estudiarla.
In the sense that it'll affect us all as mobile vendors. It'll affect us negatively, and we haven't received the right amount of time to really educate ourselves on the policy.
Si acaso nos dieron algunas 2 juntas y nos explicaron, pero realmente así no es, porque nosotros pedimos más tiempo, algunos 6 meses para saber nosotros de cómo podemos defendernos.
We did receive about 2 meetings where some things were explained to us, but it's not enough. We are asking of a time of 6 months in order to better prepare ourselves.
Es por eso que venimos aquí bastantes compañeros a pedirles eso, que nos den más tiempo,
That's why a lot of us here, a lot of my colleagues are here to ask you for more time.
porque realmente, pues, como les dije la vez anterior, estamos como antes, cuando no teníamos nada, cuando no teníamos nada de permisos, ahora los tenemos, pero nos están trabajando con más reglas, entonces casi venimos siendo lo mismo de antes.
Because like we've been mentioned before, we're going to be in the same position we were at the beginning where we were before, with all these new policies that we've come so far, and now we have new policies that are being implemented, and it's pushing us back.
Yo tengo más de 25 años como vendedor ambulante y he pasado por muchas cosas.
I've been a mobile vendor for more than 25 years now, and I've gone through many things.
La verdad me han tocado que me han golpeado, me han sacado armas, de todo me ha pasado, me han tirado mis elotes.
Beat up, I've had firearms pulled out on me, they have dumped out my corn, my lotes.
Si supieran la tristeza que da cuando te están tirando tu producto que con tanto esfuerzo haces tu esfuerzo de irlo a comprar y irlo a vender hacia el consumidor.
If you only knew how sad it feels when they toss your products, this product that you spent time, money preparing, and for it to just be thrown away.
A veces nos tratan como criminales porque yo la verdad veía lo de la ciudad y corría a esconderme donde se pudiera.
They would make us feel, they would treat us like criminals. Whenever I would see someone from the city, I would just run and hide wherever I could.
Lo único que hacemos como vendedores es ir a vender y vieran el gusto que nos da ver que los niños salen con un gusto a comprarnos, a que quieren sus doritos, sus raspados, sus elotes. Eso es lo que nos hace ser más fuertes para ir para adelante.
All we do as vendors is sell, and you should see experience how nice it feels when we see children come out to us excited to get their lotes, to get their chips, their snow cones or their raspados. It feels great. It makes us very happy, and it pushes us to keep going as mobile vendors.
Estamos haciendo nuestro esfuerzo nosotros de educarnos, de sacar nuestros permisos.
We are making an effort to educate ourselves, to get our permits.
Y pues yo no sé qué más lo que nos piden, porque lo único que pedimos nosotros a cambio que consideren la ordenanza y que piensen no nomás en ustedes, en lo que están apuntando ustedes ahí, sino piensen en todos los compañeros vendedores ambulantes.
All we are asking for is help with these permits, with these ordinances. We'd like for them to be reconsidered, and we would just like for you all to really think about us mobile vendors.
Y pues les agradezco que nos escuchen y muchas gracias.
And I thank you for your time, thank you for listening, and thank you again very much.
Muchas gracias. Up next is Brandy. Good morning, Brandy. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just wanted to stand here with our mobile food vendors and also represent the many people who are supporting them but can't be here this morning, to ask that, as they have asked, that you vote no, and to listen to their very reasonable asks. Our vendors said better than I could what the concerns are, because they're the ones experiencing this, they're the ones that are most affected. And they understand better than you or I. Thank you. The concerns how this will affect them and what the needs are and what is the weaknesses. And I ask that you take seriously every single comment, as well as the things, recognize the need for vendor representation in these things. There are calls for equity and inclusion. I'm reading directly from there because they say it so well. Is language accessibility, equity and inclusion codified within the policy. Language and accessibility. All materials, including citations and educational resources, should be available in multiple languages. Workshops and trainings. Vendors request structured educational sessions, cultural competence training for our city staff, and education on the appeal process, as well as what I think is probably the most key thing is, amongst these things, all of them are important, is vendor representation. that they get to be at the table, that they get to be listened to, that they can share the concerns. And I believe what one asks is the creation of a street vendor support specialist to aid in advocacy as well as compliance to address these issues. Please listen, as well as note that there has been mentioned many times, and we've had this in other issues, where those who are out there are being ridiculed, they are being treated poorly in the interactions, where any representation from the city should be one of a strong representation of what you want the city to be for our vendors, for our community, every single community member, including how their people are treated, how they're respected. And I believe that we need to have accountability, not only in these things, but in how, not just the how, not just the what, but how the interactions are. So please listen to everything that has been stated and respond accordingly. Give the time for this to be done well, because again, it's not just because the how is also an important feature. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Are there any other members of the public who would like to provide public comment on an agenda item? Please come up at this time. Seeing no one else. Okay. Buenos días
a todos.
Morning,
Me da
everyone.
mucho gusto estar aquí en este sagrado recinto.
I'm really
Me da
happy.
mucho gusto. Es segunda vez que estoy aquí.
I'm very happy to be here. It's the second time here.
Estoy embobado viendo cómo hay mucha juventud entre ustedes
Okay.
y escuchando a estos vendedores.
Impressed to see how many young ones are here and to hear these vendors.
Sinceramente, les doy las gracias porque los atienden, porque los
Sincerely,
escuchan.
thank you for listening to them.
Yo vengo a hablar en favor de ellos, de que si se fijan, la mayoría somos viejos.
I'm here to speak in their favor. As you,
Somos
if you
ya
look,
personas.
we're older in age now.
Somos personas que ya pasamos del medio siglo
We are, over half a century.
y lo que quieren es trabajar.
And what they want to do is work.
Como tenemos esa lectura allí, que en Dios confiamos,
As it says up there,
nosotros
in God we
confiamos en Dios
trust.
también
We also trust in God.
y confiamos en ustedes
And we trust in you guys.
y que son muy inteligentes
You're very
ustedes y que
you're
no
all very
usen su mente
very
para
smart.
solucionar este problema.
Please use your minds to come to a resolution on this problem.
La mejor oración y la mejor petición es con el corazón y la mejor decisión también.
The best prayer, the best petitions are
Hagan-
made from the heart.
Hagan su decisión salomónica y vean lo que es lo bueno para el pueblo.
Please make your
Porque son
decision
pueblo.
seeing what is best for the town. We are a town. We are a city.
Yo veo que Luis ha hecho algo por ellos, Miguel.
I see that
a
Luis
los demás
has
no los conozco.
done things for them. Miguel, the rest of you, I don't know.
No tenía la facilidad pues de verlos, de conocerlos.
I haven't had the
Pero se me
ability to
hacen-
see you, get to know you,
Se ven muy jóvenes
but you also look very young,
y muy inteligentes.
very smart.
Entonces, por favor, tóquense la mano,
So please
el corazón con la mano
put your
y decidan,
hands to
no
your
con la
heart
mente, no con la mente, con el corazón.
and think, not with your minds, but with your hearts.
Y les doy las repetidas gracias de aceptarnos en este sagrado recinto,
And
porque
then
sí lo es.
thank you so much for accepting us in this sacred place.
sagrado
It is
recinto para
very
el pueblo.
sacred. It's a sacred place for the town.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Anyone else? ¿Alguien más? Buenos
Muy
días.
buenos días.
Good morning.
Mi nombre es Rocío Lucio.
My name is Rosia Lucio.
Soy vendedora desde 1996
I have been a mobile vendor since
y me
1996.
tocó un tiempo muy duro.
I did go through a very difficult time.
Fuimos correteados,
Well, we were,
multados,
chased down, we were fined,
casas cerradas donde
we were
teníamos los carros.
closed down where we would keep our cars,
Y
were
sin
closed down.
embargo, yo no me rendí.
But besides all that, I didn't give up.
Tengo permisos
I have my permits.
y he luchado desde hace 17 años sola, que mi esposo murió.
I have been, fighting all on my own for 17 years now since my husband passed.
Y gracias a este trabajo he sacado a mis hijos adelante.
And thanks to this work that I do, I have been able to, help my children have a better
Son
better
buenos
life.
ciudadanos,
They are great citizens.
buenas
They are
personas.
good people.
Y no me parece ahorita justo que de tanto tiempo de luchar por unos nuevos cambios,
And I just feel that it's not fair having fought for so long for there to be these changes.
nos ponen unas cosas buenas por un lado, pero nos atacan con otras por el otro.
They give us, we're given some good things on one end and then we feel we are being attacked on the other end.
Ahora estoy orgullosa de que exista la Asociación de Vendedores Ambulantes.
I am very proud now that we have the Association for Mobile Vendors.
No teníamos antes protección de ningún
We
tipo.
didn't have any kind of protection before, of any kind.
Y como dicen, yo veía a mis niños chiquitos, veían a una persona de una camioneta de la ciudad y empezaban a llorar. ¿Por qué? Porque nos llamaban hasta la policía.
And I recall when my children were small and if they saw a city vehicle, they would start to cry because often even the cops were called on us.
Entonces, como dicen los compañeros, con el corazón en la mano, que vean por nosotros todo lo que hemos batallado. Como dijo también el compañero, ya somos personas mayores, muchos.
And I just ask, as my colleague said, to please put your hands over your heart and really consider us, think of what we've gone through. As he also mentioned, a lot of us are getting older.
Que vean esta póliza que quieren pasar, que nosotros no vendemos tacos, no tenemos unas loncheras.
Please, consider this policy that is about to be passed. We don't sell tacos. We don't have a food truck.
Empujamos un carrito
We
día a
push
día
a cart every day
por todas las calles.
through all the streets.
No estamos parqueados en un solo lugar.
We're not parked at one spot.
Que nos separen de sus pólizas que están poniendo global.
Please separate us from those global policies.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Rosa.
Good morning, my name is Rosa.
Mire, estoy aquí también con mis compañeros.
I'm here with my colleagues.
Pues como ellos dicen y es cierto,
As they've
que,
said,
pues,
it's true.
que nos extiendan más la póliza.
Please
y,
extend the policy.
mire, también yo he pasado por muchas cosas.
I've also gone through a lot.
También soy vendedora ambulante.
I'm also a mobile vendor.
A principios empecé a vender nieves y
In the beginnings, I started by selling ice creams.
iba con mis niñas y me iba a ponerme a vender mis nieves y los de la ciudad iban, me tiraban mis cosas, me tiraban mis nieves. Mis niñas miraban cómo me tiraban mis cosas y decían, mamá, tú no te preocupes, mi papá va a hacer más nieves y mañana vamos a venir otra vez a vender.
I would go out to sell with my daughters who were small, and the city would come up to us sometimes and they would throw my ice creams, they would toss it all, and my daughters would see them doing this to me and they would tell me, Mom, don't worry because Dad's gonna make more ice cream and we can try again tomorrow.
Para entonces tenía mis niñas de 2 años y 3 años.
At the time, my daughters were 2 and 3.
Ellas miraban todo eso y me decían, mamá, ¿no podemos vender otra cosa?
They would see all this happening and they would ask me, Mom, can we sell something else?
Y empezamos a vender elotes.
So we started selling elotes, corn.
Sí, y de ahí otra vez la ciudad. Bueno, antes de eso yo vendía ya embarazada, estaba embarazada, me llegaban, me asaltaban.
And then again, the city, well, before that, I was selling while pregnant and I would be assaulted.
A principios vendía elotes y me asaltaban, me golpeaban.
When I started selling elotes, corn, they would assault me, they would hit me.
hasta con un arma, me llegaron a asaltar con armas.
Even on one occasion, they pulled a firearm on me. I was also assaulted that way.
Dejé de vender elotes por el miedo de que me asaltaban.
So I stopped selling elotes. I stopped selling corn because I was scared that it would happen again, that I would be assaulted.
La ciudad no me dejaba en paz, me perseguía, me decía, ¿dónde quieres ir a tirar tus elotes?
The city would not leave me in peace. They would follow me. They'd tell me, where do you want to go throw away your corn?
Sí, y le digo, y así seguimos, y ahora nos escondemos de los que, bueno, salimos con el miedo de que nos asaltan, de que nos están esperando a la esquina para quitarnos el dinero.
Those are the things we have been going through, and now we hide and we leave and our homes to go sell, but we're scared. We're afraid that we're going to be assaulted, that something's going to happen to us, that something's going to happen with the city.
Y ahora nos andamos escondiendo también ahora de la ciudad. O sea, ahora ya no nomás de los que nos roban, sino ahora también de la ciudad.
And so now, we're not only hiding from people who are, bad people who want to assault us and steal from us. Now we feel that we need to hide from the city.
Porque también hace como un mes también no me dejaron vender en una escuela, no me dejaban vender.
Because about a month ago, it happened to me again where they didn't let me sell at a school.
Llegó el de la ciudad y me dijo que si yo no me movía, me iban a poner un ticket.
A city employee came to meet with me and told me that if I didn't move, they were going to give me a ticket.
Y que si no entendía, me iban a quitar mi carrito.
And that if I didn't understand, that they were going to take my card away.
Imagínense, me quitan mi carrito, ¿con qué voy a mantener a mis hijas? Tengo mis niñas, están estudiando.
Imagine, if they take my card, how am I going to provide for my family? My daughters, they're still going to school, they're studying.
Hasta la policía llegó también ahí a quitarme.
Even the police showed up to move me.
Imagínense tanta gente que nos andan robando.
Imagine all these people also stealing from us.
Que vayan a ver a los que nos andan robando, a los delincuentes, a ellos ni los persiguen.
Instead of going after these delinquents, people who are stealing from us, they're not even going after them.
Pero a nosotros nos traen,
But
no nos dejan vender, no nos dejan hacer
they
prácticamente
don't
nada.
let us do practically anything. They don't allow us to sell.
Y ahora con lo que nos van a otra vez con de la póliza que pues no nos las quieren extender, y yo pido de favor también que toquen su corazón y que nos extiendan más la póliza porque la verdad pues sí lo necesitamos.
And now again with this policy that it doesn't seem like it wants to be extended, I ask that you please, look into your hearts and consider extending this policy.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias.
Well, thank you so much.
Muchas gracias. All right, seeing no further desire for public comment, I will ask at this time for a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
So move.
I have a motion by Councilmember Arias, seconded by Council Vice President.
I just want to register a no vote on item 2P. That's all. Thank you.
No vote on item 2P. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. We're going to move on to contested
Council President, are we still discussing the mobile food vendor item?
One was pulled. We'll discuss
That's for
that
later.
Contested consent.
Okay, I have some questions on this item that I want to flesh out publicly.
We'll get to that when we get
Thank
to
you.
contested consent. All right, the first item we have for contested consent is item 2J. This is actions pertaining to the VMT mitigation program. This was pulled by myself. Hi, Sophia. This was a contract extension and a fee increase, is that correct?
It is only a contract extension.
Just a
Council
contract
President.
extension?
Yes.
Okay. And it was to extend the contract to June 30th, 2025, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so does that mean that we can expect the VMT model and the EIR to come before us before then?
Yes.
For consideration?
Yes.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you very much. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
This is for item 2J. I made a motion to approve. It was seconded by Councilmember Arias. Any objection? Item passes 7-0. The next item is item 2Z. This was a bill for introduction, adding Chapter 10, Article 26 to the Fresno Municipal Code, entitled the Sidewalk Vending Ordinance. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Council President. I know there's some questions from Councilmember Chavez, our co-sponsor, and other people, so I wanted to first give some opening remarks and thank some folks for showing up today. This item, like very few in this body of work, for me it's personal. As a first-generation immigrant to this country, my mom has been selling tamales from her home kitchen for 50 years, and she's been doing it since she got into the country in 1978. So I can appreciate what mobile food vendors do, what being able to do this does for a family's economic condition. So when the incidents occurred in 2021 with Lorenzo, I made a personal commitment to the vendors of this community that we would help the mobile food vendors, that we would provide them support, and that we would treat them like any other industry in our community. And since then, I believe the city has kept its commitment. We've invested more than $1.5 million in mobile food vendors, making sure that they have security cameras, that they have grants to buy the necessary equipment that the county requires. We recently funded a commercial kitchen to make sure that they have access to a kitchen as required by the county public health department. And more importantly, I believe we've been very supportive of the Mobile Food Association to be at the table and provide us feedback and input in the development of this policy. It's been 3 years since that work began, and we've been very intentional of starting out with the help and the support and the guidance before coming forward with some basic rules for the whole industry and citywide. And I want to be intentional in indicating this. There is also rules.
Councilmember,
Yes.
I think we're having an issue. Hold on. I don't think it's being translated. I see.
Okay.
Can maybe just pause for a second?
Sure, I'll
Let them
pause
get
and sing Las Mañanitas.
Or you can speak Spanish.
No, it's be too confusing
But
for
then
the city manager.
some of us wouldn't
And
understand
for
you.
Luis. Mientras que arreglen el equipaje, gracias por todos que vinieron ahora. Me da mucha felicidad que ustedes estén presentes y que estén en la mesa discutiendo ese tema muy importante para todos. Gracias a ustedes. How much time do we need? Do we know?
Are we ready, interpreters? It's not working?
Not working?
Okay, I'm going to call for a 5-minute recess at this time to fix our translating services.
Vamos a tomar un break de 5 minutos para que arreglen el equipaje.
It's 11:17 a.m. Councilmember Arias, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and start over.
Sure. Thank
on
you,
your
Council
remarks.
President. I want to start off by thanking the vendors who are present today. As I noted earlier, as a first-generation immigrant to this country, and as a son to a mother who's a mobile food vendor herself, she's been selling tamales for the last 15 years to supplement our income as a family. I know firsthand what this means for our vendors, and that's why in 2021, when the incident with Lorenzo took place, I took it personal, and I made a personal commitment to the vendors of this city that we would change our behavior as a city. It was practiced in the past that the police department would, cite vendors and would throw away their food. It was practiced in the past that vendors did not have a trusting relationship with the police department or with city code enforcement. And it continues to be the practice by public health in the county of Fresno to toss the food of vendors when they're not licensed. In 2021, I made the commitment that this city would take a different approach and bring the vendors from the shadows of the economy into the forefront and treat them like any other entrepreneur and business. And that started with providing them help and support, which we have done, more than $1.5 million since 2021, providing them with cameras, with grants to buy the equipment that requires them under the California public health orders, and for them to receive the training and the support to get their licenses and their permits to operate legally, as well as being supportive of the Mobile Food Association so that they can be a voice for them and be at the table when policies like these are being developed by the city. That's why I'm proud that you guys are here today. I'm proud that you've taken the time to provide us input and feedback. With that commitment, we also indicated very clearly that we would have to bring basic rules for the whole industry to ensure that everyone gets treated the same, whether you're selling at a city park or selling on Chavez Boulevard or Herndon Avenue. And I will add that we were also very thoughtful in being responsive to vendor requests. They requested that we authorize the sale of food and vending at city parks, and this council responded by allowing that. So in the last 3 years, we've done quite a bit. Most recently, we've funded a commercial kitchen that's desperately needed in the city to ensure more vendors have the opportunity to get a license with public health. But I want to clarify a few things that I heard today that I think are important to clearly indicate for the record. One, the city of Fresno and code enforcement does not throw anybody's food away. We have not. Since my tenure here in 6 years, we've never done that, and we don't intend to do that. We don't touch people's food. We don't touch their products. The County of Fresno Public Health Department continues to have that practice, and I am confident that Supervisor Chavez and Butterfield will lead a change of that practice, but the city of Fresno does not engage in that behavior. Thanks to the input of these vendors, we did make several changes to the policy. One, we met with them twice, and we also included a workshop at their request so that people beyond the association could hear about these proposed rules. We held that workshop on November 30th. We also made changes to the actual policy itself. We reduced the fines in accordance to their feedback. So now the fines will start off with a warning. The first fine will be $25, the second fine $50, the third fine $100. That is dramatically different and lower than the proposed original ordinance. We also reduced the distance requirements from other vendors, from public places, from traffic at their request. And we ensured that we allowed them to have the shade structures to ensure that they were protected during the hot days and during the winter months from rain. But the biggest modification we've made, in my view, is that we've heard that you need more time to understand it, that you wanted us to provide more time for education. And so this policy includes 6 months of education. If this policy is approved this year, the code enforcement department would not be allowed to fine people in the city except for the Tower District Business Corridor into June of 2025. That is, I have the floor. Please be respectful of the rules. We have added 6 months of education for the policy to be enforced across the city. That is an important distinction to make. I also want to center us on why we're doing this and what it doesn't mean. First off, vendors that sell elotes and ice cream and churros in residential neighborhoods will continue to be able to do that after the policy is passed. We have included an exemption for those vendors in residential neighborhoods. Ariana's kids, everybody else's kids will continue to buy elotes and churros and ice cream and paletas in front of their residential neighborhoods. What we have clearly indicated in this policy is we cannot have people cooking on public sidewalks in residential neighborhoods or blocking the public right-of-way, which is it's a health and safety provision. If I could have the city clerk put up the slides, and here's where we want to be centered on what we're trying to solve here. As you can see from some of these photos, go to the next slide, city clerk. Here are vendors who have set up on the city sidewalk, and they have set up tables and chairs on a city sidewalk. That's created a huge health and safety hazard for the patrons of these businesses and for public safety and right-of-way. Next photo. As you can see, they've continued along the corridor. Next photo. Some of them are blocking complete sidewalks. That's not allowed because we have to ensure that people have access to ADA access in these sidewalks. Next photo. As you can see, there's live cooking and grease being left behind. Next photo. Next photo. And this is some of the end result of that. The city has been funding the power washing of some of these neighborhoods on a weekly basis, and that's still not enough. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. None of you in the audience are engaged in this behavior. This policy is not meant to in any way stop you from doing business. It is a handful of people that continue to violate basic rules. Some of these individuals have taken all the grease from the tacos and the hot dogs and put it on the trees and killed the trees in the neighborhood. In order for us to enforce the rules in any part of the city, we need to have basic rules across the city so that these individuals simply don't move a block next door and create and replicate the same problem somewhere else. That's what's important for us to have a citywide policy. I also want to make a note that this policy today is for introduction only. We will introduce it today. If it's approved for introduction, it will be heard again on December 5th at the next council meeting, and then it would go effect 30 days after. So we're looking at the new year. The only area that code enforcement would be authorized to cite people and fine people would be the Tower District Business Corridor, because they've had a pilot there for a year, and when we're controlling the vending, it worked very well for the safety of the area. The other point I want to make on this proposal is some of the rules, and I can appreciate the fact that people don't like rules, but rules are important to keep people safe. So one of the rules is you can't be vending within 200 feet of an interchange, a freeway off-ramp, if that area is not developed. If it's a dirt lot, we don't want people selling right off the freeway entrance because it backs up traffic to the freeway and it causes accidents. That's a traffic safety precaution. We added a condition of you can't be right next to each other because we had conflict with some vendors being very close to other vendors. But the association members told us sometimes us female vendors sell next to each other to ensure safety. So we created an exemption that if you have consent and agreement from the vendor next door, then you can be next to them. But we don't want the constant conflict of who was here first and then having to deploy public safety resources. Another condition is 100 feet within a residential area. For those who are cooking, as you saw the sidewalk and the grease that's left behind, we don't want that in front of somebody's house or near a park where kids are running around and can slip and fall. Because ultimately the city is responsible for those injuries. Except if, based on the feedback of the vendors, if you're selling elotes, if you're selling fresh fruits, if you're selling tamales and bread that's pre-cooked, then you can be in the residential neighborhood selling. We want to make sure that the people with their carts and their churros and ice creams can sell in residential neighborhoods. We simply don't want people cooking on public sidewalks in the residential neighborhood because they're not designed for that kind of use. Access. We said that you shouldn't be within 50 feet of an operating kitchen. We've seen this in the business corridor of the tower. When you have a restaurant, as you can tell from those photos are taken at 9 o'clock p.m. on a weekday. These restaurants are still operating their kitchens. If you set up right in front of the entrance, you now have conflict of people coming in and out, accessing their restaurants. 50 feet is just what we need for clearance for people to safely enter these businesses. We also included that you should not be cooking right next to a building, and you should not be cooking under an umbrella right next to a building. That's a requirement and a recommendation by the fire department, because we don't want any oil or fires taking place next to buildings that are vacant and there's people cooking next to them. We also included that you cannot block a sidewalk, and you cannot put your car, if you're cooking, your tables and chairs on a sidewalk that blocks access. And lastly, that you should leave enough room for public safety to go through. And this includes everyone. To the point of code enforcement, at the request of the vendors, this policy can only be enforced by two departments, code enforcement and the fire department. The fire department is simple. If there's an active cooking scenario and the fire is a risk to the public, fire has a right to ask you to put out the fire and put off the cooking. Code enforcement is going to be fully trained, and since we're giving education for 6 months, they'll have 6 months to be fully trained to make sure that they're aware of it, of the rules, and that they get applied fairly across the city. So what I want to also indicate is this policy also ensures that there is no vending in the Tower District Business Corridor between 12:30 and 8 a.m. And that's very specific. In the Tower District, and the city manager and the police chief can chime in if they wish, we've had a lot of incidents where people fights have broken out, police have to be called, incidents have occurred, because if they're setting up after the clubs are closed, after the restaurants are closed, incidents occur. So in the Tower District specifically, we're not allowing vending between the hours of 12:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. And I can assure you, none of you here today are vending in the Tower District at that time. So this rule doesn't apply to you. It allows us to enforce the rules in an area where we had a lot of public safety incidents that we're trying to ensure both vendors and the public are protected from. So if you speak out again, you're going to be asked to leave. Respect the rules, please. Honor the people that you're representing and respect the rules. With that said, Council, we have tried to develop a policy that is fair across the board, that allows us to bring this industry from the shadows into the forefront, that treats them like any other industry. However, with rules that they've helped provide feedback on and that we've crafted. But I simply ask that we move forward with introduction. They have my commitment. You know, at the last meeting, the vendors offered for me to go spend a day with them, which I will. I'll spend a day with you, understanding how the parks vending is taking place, understanding how code enforcement is implementing the rules. We were scheduled yesterday to spend a night with code enforcement to see how they're enforcing the rules. That's my commitment too. We'll have our city attorney. Going forward, our city attorney and myself and Member Perea will be shadowing code enforcement during the night shift and the weekend shift to assess for ourselves to see how these rules are being applied and making sure that we're treating people with respect and dignity. I will also spend time with the mobile food vendors to see from their perspective how the interactions are taking place. Some of the concerns I've heard are not related to cities' interactions, but are related to the interactions they have with some of the leagues that lease out our park space and the fact that they bring their own food and their own products to sell without being vendors themselves. And I'll continue to work with anybody and everyone to ensure that the vendors in our city are treated fairly and with dignity and continue to be protected from any abuse or any ill will towards them. But with that, Council, I would make a motion to approve the introduction of this ordinance.
All right, I have a motion to approve item 2Z. I will second that just to keep the conversation going. Councilmember Arias, I think you did a good job laying out a lot of the changes that have taken place since the last time this came before the council. Just looking at the vendors, I was seeing a lot of head shaking and agreeance and thumbs up. So I think there's hopefully been a lot of confusion that has been cleared. And I know we still have a lot of work to do to continue to provide further education for everyone over the next 6 months until this does come into effect. Up next, I have Councilmember Chavez.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I want to thank the food vendors for being here today. Pero primero que nada quiero ofrecerles una disculpa. Es obvio que debía de haber asistido a esa segunda junta que tuvieron. Tenía la impresión de que ustedes estaban apoyando esta medida. Claramente todavía tienen preguntas y obviamente yo también veo su punto de vista de querer trabajar con nosotros. I'm not sure if my colleagues need translation, but I'll translate for you later. First of all, City Attorney, I had a couple of questions that I think we need clearing up. We did the big grant recently, $700,000 with Cultiva la Salud a couple of weeks ago. We had a discussion there about right now state law allows anybody to use their residential kitchen to prepare food and to sell the food. I can tell you I have a number of those in my council district. Does that state law contradict with what we're trying to do here today, for the record?
In the city attorney's opinion, it does not. We've crafted this in a way that we think is consistent with state law.
Okay. The other question that I have, and this I want to actually ask our food vendor folks. Don Miguel, si puede venir al podio de la pregunta que le quiero hacer formalmente. Can we get the translator? Yeah, thank you. Don Miguel, nosotros tuvimos esta conversación de, obviamente, cuando formamos la asociación era para trabajar juntos, no nomás del comienzo, pero tener un diálogo consistente y obviamente que siga esa conversación. En eso le quiero decir muchas gracias por trabajar conmigo. Hace unos meses, si recuerdas, estuvimos en el parque y quisimos implementar un programa donde se le daría una calcomanía para todos los vendedores que están aprobados, tienen su licencia y tienen sus permisos. No hubo acción después de eso, pero quiero ofrecer eso como una opción para este programa. ¿Estaría de acuerdo en trabajar con nosotros en eso?
Sí,
okay.
De acuerdo.
Yes, we're in agreement.
For my colleagues, just very briefly, I'll translate for you. There was a program a couple of months ago when we met at the park where we were actually outlining stickers that were approved for food vendors that came in and had their permits, their license, everything in accordance. I would like to make part of this conversation so that our code enforcement is very clear on who is certified, who is approved in the city, and who is not. I think that would be very helpful. we know that the people that are here are not the problem. We know that there are folks that are coming in from out of the city that set up and do things, their way, maybe because they don't know or maybe because they don't care. I understand that we need to get to a place where we need to have some kind of ability to have those folks, but what I don't want to happen is I don't want to even give the remote message that we're not supporting our food vendors, because I think this council, the city, has led the effort statewide where we now receive calls from other jurisdictions on what we're actually doing for best practices. I want to continue that conversation. I want to formalize the association at their request. I will obviously be transitioning to the county. I've got a lot of work to do at the county that I will work with the city hand in hand. I think there's a lot of space that needs to happen, and they know that I will be a voice for them over at Fresno County. But I do want to set something up. I want to get this right. I also understand the challenges that we have. And City Manager, you and I spoke. I would like for you to enter into the record part of the rationale, what's been happening in the Tower District and downtown. I don't have that problem in my district. I don't know if other council members do. I actually love and support that we have food vendors in Southeast Fresno and every other corner, whether it's Gerardo's Tacos or Doña Teresa's Pupusas. I love that about our community, but I also want to respect the fact that there are some issues going on in other parts of the city that we need to address. So City Manager, if you could just briefly go over some of the issues we've had in parts of the city that, required law enforcement attention.
Yeah, Chief Castro, if you could make your way to the front in case I say something incorrect. And first of all, I want to be very cautious with my words because I don't want to send a message to the community that, the Tower District is not safe. But it is safe because we are putting in an extraordinary amount of resources to keep it safe. And that is not something that we have the resources to continue indefinitely. There have been some issues in the Tower District with certain elements being involved and in conflict. And unfortunately, what is happening is not by the fault of the vendors. It's actually their customers that are the problem. But by the mere fact of vendors being there and some vendors being in operation up to like 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, it is keeping an element present in the Tower District that are getting into conflict and causing issues and requiring us to keep law enforcement with a much larger presence than normal present in the Tower District. We're having to hold shifts over. We're having to pull officers from other districts in the city to keep a heavy presence in the Tower District to make sure that it remains safe. That has put a strain on resources. Chief Castro, if you could correct if I've misstated or add anything, please.
You did not misstate anything, and I want to say our job is not just to keep the city safe, but our vendors as well, and it becomes difficult. We have been putting an extraordinary amount of resources out, and it's not just because the vendors are in the tower. It's particularly our isolated piece that has been causing problems is the after hours. Patrons from the bars leave, maybe they've been drinking, and vendors that set up in the parking lots particularly have allowed for people to hang out and make it a congregation. There's been some social media efforts to turn it into kind of a street party. That's exacerbated the problem. And then, yes, it's not just an element of people. We have our MAGIC or our gang unit there identifying particularly gang members in the area, rival gang members posted up in different locations, so that causes us a lot of concern for everybody's safety that's out there, maybe unbeknownst to them, in the midst of a potential gang conflict. So those things are very important to us. Not only did we hold over shifts, we have called teams in from the other parts of the city, even on the night that we had a sergeant shot in the southeast area, I had to call the Sheriff's Department and CHP to help us because we didn't want the Tower District to become out of control when our resources were devoted to handling calls for service citywide. So make no mistake, the more resources drawn to control large crowds after hours, the less these officers are able to provide services to the rest of the city.
And I want to thank you, Chief and City Manager, for just putting that on the record. I think we should be very transparent about, you know, the purpose and the need to do something. But I also, along those lines, City Attorney, I asked this question, what are our parameters for allowing this type of ordinance to be maybe restricted or confined to a specific geographical area, i.e. the Tower District, i.e. downtown, or any venue that would attract folks like that, as opposed to doing a citywide ordinance and just doing a one-size-fits-all?
I'm going to have Assistant City Attorney Christina Roberson come up.
Good morning, council members. The state law that this is basically based on does make requirements for certain findings of the policymakers in order to make restrictions. So it sounds like we were just given a lot of information about reasons why it's necessary in the Tower District. It's based on state law, additional findings would probably need to be made in order to make those findings citywide.
And Assistant City Attorney, would this mirror what we did recently with regards to having buffer zones around school for transient folks and things of that sort, or is it something different?
The state law that is in play here with the vending rules is specific to vending, but it's similar types of restrictions.
Okay, I'm hearing that there's an option for that.
It's a possibility. Certain findings would need to be made in order to make sure that there are health and safety reasons for it.
Such as what was just described by our city manager and our police chief, correct?
Yes, for the Tower District, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we get that on the record. Another thing that I also want to flesh out, and since we're having this conversation, is I think our business folks wanted to know what exactly do we charge. I think, City Attorney, you sent me over the amount. It's $20 for the business licensing fee. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Is that right, Santino?
And then it's $4 that the state charges additional from that, right? Look at our numbers person.
Good morning. That's correct. Yeah, it's $20 for the one-time application, and then it's a $4 SB fee.
Okay, it's something I want to put on the mobile food vendors' radar for a conversation. I am going to engage with you. I will work with you next week, Thanksgiving break. I'm willing to work if my colleagues are to get to that point. But they mentioned something very valuable. They wanted for the city to codify that and formally put them under that structure. I think it's worth to have a conversation where perhaps there's a small assessment on that fee that goes back to supporting the Mobile Food Vendor Association formally in the city. I just wanted to flag that publicly. City Attorney, if we could get some work done on that. And if they're agreeable to that, I think this would solve the issue of what is their long-term sustainability, right? Even after all of the council members and the mayor are gone, I think that would be a good conversation to have, but I just want to put that on your radar. Don Miguel, es lo que habíamos platicado, pero después podemos platicar. Lo estoy sometiendo hoy para el archivo, el record que vamos a tener aquí en la ciudad, de la oportunidad de tener la asociación permanente y oficialmente parte de la ciudad. So, es lo que quería públicamente decir. Then the last piece that I wanted to have for our city attorney. So we went through what the state law allows. We're trying to obviously solve a problem here locally. I want to ask my colleagues, now that we've had this conversation, are you agreeable to postponing this one more session, Councilmember Perea, Council President Perea and Councilmember Arias, so we could hone in all of these details, get everybody on the same page, and perhaps looking at doing maybe some site-specific restrictions with that for the next week. And I'm willing to work next week if we have to, but I definitely want to make sure that our food vendors are heard today and that we actually move on some of the recommendations that they've had.
To respond to your question, Councilmember, I always defer to more time. This was initially going to be adopted 2 weeks ago. We deferred it to this time. The next time it would be heard is December 5th. After that, do we have a meeting after December 5th?
One more.
We do. One more after that. So from my perspective, we have 2 weeks before, we have 15 days before the December 5th meeting. I'll be happy to meet with the vendors as soon as tomorrow. If the association wants to get clarification, look at additional language, I'm willing to work all weekend. If they want us to do site visits, I'm willing to work through Thanksgiving break with you. So I like to keep it as introduction today. If there's any major changes between now and December 5th, we will do what we did today, which is reintroduce it again. But I like to keep it on calendar because we have a pretty heavy agenda for the last 2 meetings of the year.
The only challenge that we have with that, Councilman Morris, is that we know, based on what we've heard today, that there will be changes. So the point of submitting it would be moved because we would have to reintroduce it. And earlier you mentioned that we won't be doing it till next year anyway. So we would have, a fresh start starting January. And again, I don't want to give the impression that we did not listen. There were a lot of people that came here and spoke, took time out of their day. I want to make sure that we at least honor that night. I'm willing to do a joint meeting with you early next week to kind of hash this out and come back with a little bit more detail on what we have and resubmit for the official record.
As we noted, we've already made substantial changes based on the last meeting that we had with them. I'm open to other changes, but without knowing what they are and whether they're significant. I know there's been some references to making this only tower specific or downtown. I'm not agreeable to a policy that's only for one neighborhood, that's different from the rest of the city, because then we're just going to push the problem out to South Tower, we'll push it to a low neighborhood, we'll push it to Blackstone or Chavez Boulevard. I like to be consistent that there's a policy for the whole city and that the vendors know that they'll be treated the same no matter where they set up in the city. So from my perspective, that's one area that I want to be consistent that we should have a citywide policy.
And I think that's part of the conversation that needs to be hashed out. I think for me to be able to vote on the introduction, I would want to see some of those changes included. So with that, Council President, I'll yield my time.
Thank you. And Councilmember Chavez, I'll say that we did do the Tower District pilot program, and so at one point we did have a neighborhood-specific ordinance when it came to vending, and what it did is it pushed a lot of the problems to other parts of the city. And so I'm not sure we can just continue to chase this problem without having a more of a blanket policy citywide. But I even dislike using the word blanket because there are so many carve-outs specifically for the good actors. The good actors are here. There are so many carve-outs within this ordinance based on what we heard from these individuals. And so just personally speaking, I would not support just one neighborhood-specific ordinance.
I appreciate that, and I think that's the challenge that we're trying to work through with our folks, because you're right. The folks that are here have been great. That's one of the reasons why they're wearing those T-shirts, because they take pride in what they do and what the association is about. But we're trying to go after those folks that don't live here, that come in here and do things they're not supposed to. I know exactly, and we can't disclose that publicly, but I know exactly what some of those folks are doing and selling out there. We don't want that. So I just want to make sure we get it right. I think for me, on my end, if it goes forward, I won't be supporting the introduction, but I will be supporting the subsequent reintroduction. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do like your sticker, your approved vendor sticker idea. And then what was the other one? You mentioned one other idea that you had for consideration.
The other idea that I flagged there was the fee structure that we have. It's $20 for the business permit, $4 that the state takes. I wanted to look at I don't know what that looks like. We'll have to have our folks do, whether it's $1, $2, but those funds would go directly to mobile food vendors to support them on an ongoing basis and sustain them.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Esparza.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. And I appreciate our mobile food vendors coming out here to voice their concern. 2 meetings in a row. I understand they take the full morning here. That's time away from their work. That's time away from preparation and maybe even being out and making sales. I know many times folks think we're not listening up here, but we very much are. And I have to say that our mobile food vendors coming out here and their testimony has been very compelling, just to kind of hear some of the anecdotal stories and remind us of the experience that they're living day to day. I've heard from my colleagues about their motivation and their reasoning for bringing forward this ordinance, and those are very valid concerns. But I'm concerned that by passing this ordinance, whether it's this introductory version or a latter version, that we could be throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So I'm not sure I'll be able to support any kind of financial penalty today or within this ordinance. and I mean, the fines have been lowered, but a fine or penalty of $25 may not seem like much at first glance, but when you put that in the context of someone who's only making or netting $100 per day, that's really a huge bite out of the very humble living that these vendors are making. And so I don't know, what exactly the solution is where everyone can sort of meet in the middle. But I do know that, I'd love to see a version that more narrowly hones in on the bad actors, because it appears from the testimony from our friends here in the mobile food vendor community that the blanket regulations stand to damage them in a very disproportionate way. So I will not be supporting the motion today. I'd love to see what comes forward next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Up next, I have Councilmember Maxwell.
Thank you, Council President. I have a hard time thinking of any industry that shouldn't have some sort of regulations imposed for health and safety reasons. I mean, I think that's true for any industry out there. I don't think our mobile street vendors are exempt from that. I think there's some common sense ideas and proposals in here. Not cooking underneath an awning, not dumping grease. I also don't represent the Tower District, but I'm listening to our police chief and our council members who represent that area, and it sounds like there are some real concerns in that designated area. But I could tell you as the council member who represents Fresno State and the Save Mart Center, we love our mobile street vendors. My fiance utilizes them all the time after concerts or basketball games. I don't think more regulations for those folks is the answer. As my colleague said, I mean, for folks making $100 a day and a potential penalty for $100 is the difference between feeding your family that day or not feeding your family. So, I mean, these are pretty severe considering how much these folks make on an average day. And so I don't know if I'm supportive of the penalties, of the fines as proposed. We don't always take a blanket approach when we have issues. When we have a need for more parks and green space in a certain part of our district, we allocate more parks and green space dollars for those parts of the city. And I don't think this is any different. If we're having issues in the Tower District, I think that we should address those the best that we can. I understand that the folks in the audience today are probably not the ones perpetuating those issues, but when we have bad actors, sometimes that does cast negative light on the entire industry. But I'm not looking to impose further regulations and fines on you guys, especially when it comes to my district. I know you're very much appreciated. I don't know if any of you work around the Fresno State Save Mart Center area, but I'm very popular with a lot of folks, and we don't want to deter you from doing business with us. So I'd be curious to see what Councilmember Chavez and others are able to come up with by the December 5th meeting. Thank you for sharing your stories. It sounds like it's an incredibly difficult job. Assault sounds like it's fairly common, especially for the women. It's not always a safe job. It's not the highest paying job, but you do it to feed your family. And it's part of our economy. I think a lot of time we get fixed on the white collar jobs contributing to our economy. We often overlook industries like yours that are just as equal and important part of our economy as any other job. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Council President. I do appreciate all the feedback from my colleagues. Again, I'm open to meeting with the association as soon as tomorrow with my colleague Chavez as a council member and also as a future supervisor on what we can do with the County of Fresno differently. But I do want to amend my motion to approve to include a couple of minor changes that are not substantial. My motion is to approve the introduction with fixing the typo. It should be there should be no vending from Thursday through Sunday from 12:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. It was 2 a.m. as a typo. Additionally, to include providing direction to the city attorney to pursue the authorized vendor sticker for the Mobile Food Vendor Association members, and to explore formalizing the Mobile Food Vendor Association with the City of Fresno. including a potential fee in the permits.
Okay, and I will keep my second on that revised motion. And then just so the public knows, if this is passed today, we will continue to meet with the association. I do believe there are going to be some further refined changes to this ordinance when it does come back. I don't know at this point if there are going to be major changes or minor changes. So when it does come back on December 5th, it will either be for approval with changes, or we will have to reintroduce it for the first reading as we did again today. So with that being said, I do have a motion to approve.
Council President?
Yes, City Attorney.
Just real quick, I conversed with the city clerk, and just for everyone's edification, we need to have if there are major changes, the deadline for the 5th is Wednesday next week because of the short week.
Understood, thank you. I have a motion by Council Member Arias as amended. I seconded that. Any objection?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, item passes 4-3. All right, at this time, I'm going to take unscheduled communication. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak at this time? This is unscheduled communication. Please go ahead and come up.
Hello, good morning. My name is Susan Monet, and I don't know if you remember me from the last time I was here. I'm all about the dogs. I love humans. No offense to cats. I'm all about the dogs. So I just wanted to tell you briefly my story. This happened Saturday. I'm still kind of recuperating. This dog was on the streets, pregnant. My friend says, hey, can you hold her for a few hours or tonight? This happened Saturday at 4:30. This is just one of many. So unfortunately, the mayor's not here. I wanted to address the mayor to find out what was the plan. Was there a plan in place when the shelters were closed December 1st? Because now we have babies having babies. After she gave birth, we saw her teeth. She's a baby. She's not even 1 year old. So thankfully, a lady that helped me give birth. Now, well, I didn't give birth, you know what I'm saying. If she hadn't been there, I would have had 8 dead puppies in my backyard, because I don't know how to do that. This little guy was in the bushes, 4:30 in the morning. Ah! Anyway, I'm here to ask, what is the plan? They keep multiplying. I just spoke to Miguel Arias, that I see 5 dogs every day in front of my house. They're multiplying. They're not neutered. They're just multiplying. And she's only one of many cases. Somebody just contacted me while I was sitting there. Can you check another pregnant girl? They're in the kennel in my backyard. Now I have 2 dogs. 2 dogs. One with a broken leg. She's been in my backyard for 6 weeks. I was hoping she would go somewhere, but then that didn't happen. And then there's 6 puppies coming. My boyfriend, my neighbor, my roommate, they think I'm crazy. They're like, why can't you stop, Susan? What's wrong with you? I have a heart. That's what's wrong. And I can't look away. I want to cry. I'm not crying right now because I'm holding it together, but this is madness. I'm not from Fresno. I don't know if you guys remember, I said that last time. I'm from LA, I'm from New York. I feel like I'm living in a third world country. And I really think Fresno can do better. Honestly. You're a big city. 5th city in California. And this is happening on the streets. I don't understand it. So I just want to ask you for a minute. And now, while I was sitting there, I found out city clerk, I will be contacting you because we want to be on the agenda. Next time I'm here, there's going to be 30 people, maybe. December 5th, you'll see me again. I'm just letting you know something needs to happen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
you.
Thank you.
You know why I'm thanking you.
Up next, I have Gloria Hernandez.
Hi. I've been protesting at the federal building since April, and I have to pay parking. I don't mind. Actually, I do mind because free speech isn't free, right? But what I mind is the damn meters are up here. I can't reach to be able to pay. I think I told Miguel that, and they brought the meters here lower, but over there, they're so high. And on Fulton Street, they're high. I'm only 4 feet 10. I don't reach. I don't want to get a ticket. I kept messing with it to the point where it broke, because they kept saying, okay, I put it in, then it broke. I don't want to be breaking your meters. I think you need to be considerate, bring the damn meters down. Bring them short. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Brandy?
Thank you for your time. I just want to mention, as you noticed that it is gone cold and that there's going to be rain this weekend, that we need to, the weather is going to get dangerous and harmful to the health of many people, and particularly those who are unhoused and their pets. We need the city to take reasonable steps to protect our own constituents who have nowhere to go. Regarding one of the issues is I continue to ask for accountability for HART, taking away people's belongings, not storing, even arresting last year an activist who was trying to hold on. I believe public comment is to be heard by people. To be heard. The taking up belongings puts people further in danger. I also ask that, and the ordinance makes that even the risk of people's well-being even more at risk with things I mentioned, such as the elderly who have been, who haven't needed treatment but have been arrested and lose belongings. But regarding the warming centers, people have been asking me who have gone to the warming centers, because this was such a vital resource, when they're going to be open and if they're open. Last year, it was only open 3 days because there was only 3 days where the weather reached 35 and below. And not a single time, we had storms last year, and we have storms coming. Not any of those days was it cold enough for it to be, for the warming centers to be open when there are storms. But you are well aware that rainy weather, wet clothing, everything exacerbates health issues as well as those things. And one of the challenges during those 3 days was every time they were open, 2 days were together, and then one was by itself. It takes a tremendous amount of effort to reach out to people, let them know. We are having to go to the entire city, anyone who is actually free. If it's on a weekend, that means that organizations may not be free to be able to help, like there was at least one of those days. The 72-hour notice was a huge improvement, but people do not have access to information on the streets. In general, it's hard, challenging enough, but definitely those who are unhoused who may not have access to their phone because of lack of data, because their phones are taken by HART or by other people. And you've seen how that when it was open consistently, it was full because people needed to know about it and they needed it. So I ask that, especially as we have the Poverello House, who can be able to address any issues, they would be able to help improve the program, that we have that continued for
Thank you, Brandy. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment? This is unscheduled communication. Seeing no one else, I did have a request from Council Vice President Carbasi to amend your no vote on an item, Council Member.
Yes, thank you so much, Council President. I misspoke earlier during when we were approving the consent calendar. I meant to register a no vote for item 2F, not 2P as in Paul.
We will make sure it's reflected as such. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude our open part of the agenda. We're going to now transition into closed session. Colleagues, we're going to push through lunch. We have a very short closed session agenda, so let's knock out the rest of our items. Thank you.
Today in closed session, we have conference with labor negotiators. That's item A, all units listed on the agenda Item B, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one potential case. We do not expect to have anything reportable after closed session.